You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2845, Chapter 2845, Chapter 601, Qin Zhou's Secret Discussion, The Storm Has Risen Again. 4. Chapter 2845, Chapter 601, Qin Zhou's Secret Discussion, The Storm Has Risen Again. 4. The great Qin king looked at the few of them and said no more, then I will seek the opinions of Su Yu and the others. One hoped that when the time comes, the opening of the sacred land will not be hindered. He stood up and left. Beside him, the great Zhou king smiled and said, everyone, don't be impatient. Old Qin has been in a bad mood recently. I will go and say a few words. As for the sacred land, we will talk about it later. Soon, the great Zhou king walked out. After a while, he caught up to the great Qin king inside. You're too anxious. Anxious? The great Qin king turned his head. Old Zhou, if you don't pull him back now, do you think you can pull him back in the future? One wrong choice, two wrong choices. There won't be a third time. This was the most difficult moment for him. There were too many people staring at him. Once he got through this, from now on, he would be as free as a bird in the sky. If he could solve the crisis in front of him, he would no longer need to rely on the human race. This time, your surprise attack on the dragon world can be considered to be a win-win situation, but it's not enough. The great Qin king looked at him. How can it be possible to only want to gain and not want to put in the effort? At this juncture, there are still people who think that Su Yu should hold on for now while we develop quietly. Let me ask you, how much longer do you think we can last? The great Zhou king was silent for a moment before slowly saying, a few years or a few decades, that's about it. If we develop silently for a few years or a few decades, how much eternity can we produce? How many immortal soul third-level cultivators can we produce? Can we compete with the heavenly ancient ones? Or can we solve the problem of silence? The great Qin king looked into the distance and walked through the air. He walked up the top of the eastern split mountain and looked into the distance. Old Zhou, there's no time. There's no chance. El originally wanted to take a gamble and step into the immortal soul third level, but in the end, I failed. If I don't step into the immortal soul third level, even if you do, it'll be difficult for you to do it alone. There are some things that you think too much about. You're too cautious. You always think of perfection. How is that possible? The great Qin king looked into the distance as if he was looking at the ancient city of Xinghong. He said in a deep voice, therefore, at this juncture where Su Yu is facing the encirclement of 10,000 races, the human race should step out and tell him to stand together. We are by your side. Only then will he be able to let go of the past enmity and let him be at ease. Otherwise, will there be a next time? The great Zhou king nodded lightly and said softly, I'll understand your thoughts. Actually, everyone is not opposing for the sake of opposing, but they are worried. Worried about what? The great Qin king turned his head to look at him. Worried that Su Yu will be the next 100 battle king, just like the 9th tide? Or worried that Su Yu won't even be able to step into the Tao merge and that the human race will invest too much in him and become a joke in the end? Both. The great Zhou king sighed. The humans of today don't have as deep a foundation as before. There are only so many foundations, and they will be gone once the battle is over. Su Yu has great talent and is good at fighting, but he also lacks the heart to tolerate others. He is overbearing, cannot be angered, and cannot be taken advantage of. This is why he is in such a difficult situation now. You are wrong. The great Qin king said in a deep voice, he cannot be angered by outsiders, and cannot be taken advantage of by outsiders. If he wants to talk about his flaws, the only flaw is that he is too clear-minded. He has seen too much. He is neither an enemy nor a friend. If he is not a friend, he will become an enemy. This is his flaw. You speak of being overbearing, cannot stand anger, and cannot suffer losses. In my opinion, all of these are his strengths. The great Zhou King laughed. You, forget it. Actually, I do not have much of an opinion. I am just a little worried. Last time, I asked him, and you know what he said. He said that if he really came back and really became this leader, he would first kill the chicken as an example to the monkeys and kill a few eternal sacrifices to the flag. The great Qin king was silent for a moment. If he really killed a few sacrifices to the flag, what's the big deal? Old Qin. After all, we've been comrades in arms for hundreds of years. The great Zhou King sighed and said. When the time comes. Do you think you can bear it? Can the others bear it? Instead, they're holding in a belly full of anger. The great Qin king frowned and his gaze suddenly turned cold. That's simple. Let's be his scythe and cut off some of the details first. With the new king taking over, he will be able to travel light. Naturally, no one will oppose it. The great Zhou King smiled bitterly. You. The great Qin king snorted coldly. There is still a way. Killing people to sacrifice flags, it's not like one haven't done it before. Also, in these past few battles, the human race did not suffer any losses. Some people thought that this was good. They would not suffer any losses, and they would still be able to take advantage of it. In any case, Suyu is definitely going to be the vanguard. If he wants to be the right person, he has to be the right person. They felt that they were definitely going to take Suyu down. Why didn't they think about how Suyu was going to be taken down? You are a smart person. You should understand. The great Zhou King nodded slightly. Of course I understand. Suyu. Actually, he is still willing to be this wall, an iron wall in front of the human race. It's just that he doesn't want to talk about it. It's good that you understand. If you understand, the other races will naturally understand as well. The great Qin king shook his head and said, Suyu is thinking too much. People will definitely die in a great battle. A great battle of the undead is not a war. A war of the undead will sooner or later cause problems. An arrogant army will definitely lose. A war of the undead will make everyone feel that the 10,000 races are nothing more than this. After saying this, he said coldly, in the near future, find an opportunity to start a war. L will tell Suyu that there is no need for him to make a move. There is no need for these people outside of the human race to make a move. Let the human race fight it out on their own. Let the humans see what a life and death battle is like. If 3 or 5 immortals don't die, they won't know the pain. The great Zhou King hesitated. Soon. The great Qin king said in a deep voice, the humans have no resources. They lack carriers, blood essence, natural treasures, weapons, and everything else. Are they going to stay here all day and eat nothing? Wait for death. I've decided, the Dragon World. You and I will join forces with Xia, snipe the Dragon Emperor, attack the Dragon World, and slaughter the Dragon World. Let everyone fight desperately for me. Seize resources. Don't think of beautiful things all day. When we got up, who didn't spend time in the war? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2846, Chapter 2846, Chapter 601, Qin Zhou's Secret Discussion, The Storm Once Again. 5. Chapter 2846, Chapter 601, Qin Zhou's Secret Discussion, The Storm Once Again. 5. The great Zhou King took a deep breath, his heart trembling. He was shocked. The great Qin king was going to bring people to the dragon-slaying world. We don't even know how much eternity the dragon race has. If we kill too many of them, once-old antique of the dragon world is drawn out. Old Qin, that's too dangerous. It's only a matter of time. The great Qin king said calmly, if we don't come out now, we'll come out sooner or later. If we come out now, at least there will be rules restricting us. Once the later stage comes out, the human race will no longer have old antique. Are you certain that old antique of the human race is still alive? Once it's gone, there will be no way to balance it. Now that everyone is filled with pride and no pressure, how long do you think we can live? One should always be vigilant in times of peace. It's not safe yet, and someone has already forgotten about the danger. What a joke. The great Qin king said solemnly, I've made up my mind. Then, tell them. No. We'll talk about it when the time comes. The great Zhou king was silent for a while before saying, then rather than choosing the dragon world, I think it's better to choose another one. Another one? The great Qin king said doubtfully, gods and fiend celestials are not easy to deal with. No. Heavenly abyss. The great Zhou king said faintly, actually, it's not easy to take down the dragon realm. If we really want to gamble, then let's take down the heavenly abyss realm. First, there are not many eternity. Second, if we are close to the dead souls realm, we might be able to enter the dead souls realm. Third, if we have a grudge against the multi-divine literature department, Suyu and the others would rather see them being slaughtered. Fourth, half-emperor. Heavenly abyss ambushed Suyu in the name of avenging Suyu. Fifth, he has a catalogue with the word map in it. This is very important. The great Zhou king laughed leisurely. If we really want to fight, we have to fight this world. Taking the bait of fate and receiving the dead souls. The Tian Yuan world is the real good place. The 10,000 races do not dare to rashly break into the Tian Yuan world. They are careful not to be rushed out by the dead souls. Therefore, when the 10,000 races attack, they first enter the Tian Yuan world and then fight. Even if we are trapped inside, we still have a way out. If we attack the dragon world, once we are trapped and destroy the dragon world, that would be a big problem. With that, not only will we be able to share the pressure with Suyu, he will definitely be so grateful. Furthermore, he will be able to control a world and use it as a way out. It would be difficult for other worlds to use it as a way out. No matter how strong a great world was, it would not be suitable to use it as a way out. However, Heaven Abyss world was rather suitable. The barrier was almost overlapping with the Dead Souls world. Once they broke through this world, if they were slightly careless and broke through the Dead Souls world, the Dead Souls would flood in and they would be waiting for their deaths. The great Zhou king said faintly, also, if we are really trapped, the human race will be in danger, and we will be in danger. At this moment, if Suyu can really step out and turn the tide, no one will oppose his rise to power. The Heaven Abyss world is far away from the ancient city, so it is still reasonable that Suyu did not save us in time. The dragon world is too close, so if he does not save us, in the end, even if he does, some people will still complain in their hearts. Why didn't he come to the rescue in time? Hearing the great Zhou king's words, the great Qin king instantly came to a realization, yes, old Zhou, you're still so scheming. That's right, perhaps the dragon world isn't as suitable as the heavenly abyss world. But it's too far, can you teleport there? Otherwise, with so many people moving, it'll be too easy to be exposed. The heavenly abyss world was even farther than the dragon world. The human realm was in the east, while the enemy was in the west, close to the divine realm region. However, it wasn't there, but at the far end, which was almost the end of the heavenly battlefield. From the east to the west. One time is definitely not enough. The great Zhou king shook his head. There is still hope if we divide it into 2 or 3 times. Then you. If you really want to fight, I can still hold on. The great Zhou king looked at him, one just want to know, are you sure you want to fight? You have 3 bodies and 2 bodies destroyed. The Heaven Abyss half-emperor is powerful, and he is even stronger in this world. Even if you, old Xia, and old Zhu join hands, we may not be able to defeat him. After I teleport, I might not have much strength left. I can still continue to fight. The great Qin king let out a breath, fight. We have to fight. If we don't fight, how long do you think we can hold on in our current situation? It's just right. While everyone is still a little wary, we don't dare to act rashly in the path of conformity. This is our chance. On Su Yu's side, he has hooked up with a few path of conformity cultivators. This is also a great thing. Which path of conformity cultivator dares to come out alone now? In the past, they still dared. Otherwise, the Devil Emperor would not have come out. In the end, 2 hairy balls appeared. This time, many of them actually did not dare to appear alone. If they were really accidentally eaten, there would be no way to deal with them. The great Zhou king also smiled. That's right, this was indeed an opportunity. However, this was not a small matter. A moment of carelessness could easily lead to a big matter. We have to find an opportunity. The great Zhou king said softly, at least find an opportunity where the 10,000 races don't dare to attack our human realm. For example, invite Su Yu to return to the human realm and hold down the fort for a period of time. Even Su Yu himself doesn't know that he's holding down the human realm. Focus the attention of the 10,000 races on the human realm and on Su Yu. We'll leave right under their noses. It was dark under the lamp. It was also a bold idea. Inviting Su Yu back to the human realm would make Su Yu the focal point, allowing the other invincible humans to escape from this focal point, giving them a chance to quickly charge into the heavenly abyss world. The great Qin king looked at him and smiled, you rascal, they say that you're timid, but you're the most timid. They say that you're courageous, but you're also the most courageous. Only you dare to think of such an idea. Inviting Su Yu back to the human realm, and then, just as everyone was staring at him, the thought of the invincible human race going to attack the heavenly abyss world made people feel excited. Then, if the 10,000 races attack the human realm, won't Su Yu cry? The great Qin king laughed, the great Zhou king also laughed and said, this is also the reason why he can't be saved. It's reasonable. As for other things, Su Yu won't die so easily. I don't know about other places, but if the human realm opens the undead passageway, the various races of the immortals, devils, and gods probably won't be able to calculate it. Aren't you afraid that below the human realm, there will be human kings, human emperors, and undead spirits? If that's really not possible, then open the passageway. The great Qin king took a light breath. Old Zhou was as crazy as ever. No, he was as calm as ever. When he was calm, he was terrifyingly calm. When it came to being crazy, there weren't many people who were crazier than him. The great Qin king was silent for a moment before nodding, all right then, I've already left the beginning and the end. Since that's the case, I'll invite him to the human realm for a gathering. I'll announce to the public that we're discussing the ancient city and the human realm alliance, and then leak the news about the new Holy Land. This way, there won't be too many speculations. The great Zhou king nodded and smiled. No, there's still another reason. We'll invite Su Yu back to celebrate his father's birthday. His father just happens to be 50 years old this year. 50 is considered his entire birthday. The great Zhou king smiled and said, he can reject other reasons, but can he reject this reason? He's not even coming back for his father's birthday. That's too much. The great Qin king also smiled. 50 is also considered a birthday. All right then. Let it be. He didn't know if the outside world knew about this reason, but he probably didn't want to laugh. Su Yu's father was already 50 years old. Perhaps when he went back, he would still celebrate Su Yu's 20th birthday. 20 years old, an old antique who had killed tens of thousands of years old. He probably wouldn't be able to laugh. As soon as Su Yu arrives, the human realm will be like a storm. The great Qin king exhaled and said, we still have to be careful. This really won't do. Old Xia, stay. We'll see. The two of them reached an agreement and made a decision, but they didn't tell the others what they were thinking. The thoughts of the Great Qin and Great Zhou kings were too shocking. Soon. Xia Huovu, who had returned from the East Rift Valley, brought an invitation and an invitation to the ancient city. He invited Su Yu to attend his father's 50th birthday. This reason had already spread before Xia Huyo had even left the East Rift Valley. For a moment, the eyes of the heavens were also focused on the human realm, Su Yu, the East Rift Valley, and Su Long, who was celebrating his birthday. 50 years old, it was like a joke. What was 50 years old to those old antiques who lived hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of years old? How could this be considered as a whole? No matter what, he had to be 100 years old to be considered a whole. However, this was Su Yu's father, his only relative in the human realm. Needless to say, Su Yu would most likely go back. Even if it was very dangerous, he would most likely go back. This point was known by all the clans. For a moment, the storm rose again. What kind of storm would Su Yu cause when he returned to the human realm? Did the human clan want to ally with Su Yu purely this time, or what? Or did they want to simply form an alliance with Su Yu? For a moment, the immortal, demonic, divine, and dragon clans all focused their attention on the location of the birthday celebration, the Great Xia residence. It was the Great Xia residence again. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2847, Chapter 2847, Chapter 602, The more people there are, the more fragrant it will be. Chapter 2847, Chapter 602, The more people there are, the more fragrant it will be. In the ancient city of Xinhong. Xia Huyo entered the city with great fanfare and handed over the invitation card. Even Su Yu was stunned for a moment. My father is celebrating his 50th birthday, why would he need you guys to organize it? To send an invitation card to my son? He would really do it. In the main hall of the city lord's residence. Xia Huyo looked around. After handing over the invitation card, he was not in a hurry. He drank his tea and said with a smile, "Are you going back?" Su Yu sat on the city lord's throne and looked at him. He said indifferently, "Who asked you to send it over?" "My father." Manor head Xia. "Of course. Otherwise, what other father would there be?" Xia Huyo laughed and said, "Your father is celebrating his birthday. It can't be that you won't go back, right?" Su Yu frowned. "You want me to enter the human realm?" "Of course. Otherwise, would you be holding a banquet in the heavenly battlefield?" Su Yu fell silent and looked at him for a while. "Is there anything else?" Su Yu said sternly, "Then you can leave." "Are you going back? Is that something you can ask? What do you want to do by scouting my whereabouts?" Xia Hu was speechless. Who was scouting his whereabouts? He thought for a moment, then, he said, "All right, there's something else I want to discuss with you. The Great Qin King and the others have proposed in the Invincible Council that they want to build another holy land. This time, it's different from the past. There's only one. You make the decision and take the lead. I'll feel that the chances of passing are quite high. What do you think? Take the lead. Actually, one can see that the Great Qin King wants to groom you as his successor." Su Yu scoffed, "Successor? The Great Qin King will take down the human race first. Up until now, the human race is still a pile of loose sand. Just like that, they still want to find a successor. You know what I mean. One don't know. You have to argue." Xia Huyo was also helpless. Although the Great Qin King can't make all the decisions for the human race, he can make at least half of the decisions. In addition to the support of the Great Xia and Great Ming Manors, if you come back, 2/3 of the human race will support you. 2/3. Su Yu sneered and said, why should I go back and take over this mess of the humans? 1 am very free now. Once the strong are restricted, they will become schemers. Even someone as strong as the great Qin King will be dragged by the humans until he is unable to split himself. For so many years, he has not entered the path of conformity and does not even dare to try a new path. Does he not have talent? No, he does not have the time and does not dare to try for fear of crippling himself. Su Yu sneered, this isn't authority, this is a restriction. Moreover, Su Yu, now have monstrous authority. Your so-called leader of the human race, the human king, is worthless in my eyes. One can roam the world alone, and I can still conquer great rivers and mountains. Why should I return to the human race and suffer that injustice? A group of scoundrels may even want to embarrass me, Su Yu, create chaos, and even plot to assassinate me. Anything is possible. Why should I return to the human realm, lower my head, and become a follower? Here, Su Yu, have the final say. Xia Huyo was speechless. After a moment of silence, he said, however, once the great Qin King and the others die in battle, there will be no one left to carry on the human race's legacy. You, Su Yu, will just watch as the human race is wiped out. Su Yu said coldly, no, I'm not that cruel. My father, you people who treat me as friends, I can go save them. As for the others, what does that have to do with me? Xia Huyo stood up, Su Yu, some things are already in the past. If you really want to talk about it, all these years, which family didn't suffer casualties? Don't always think about the bad of the human race. You also have to think about it. Many people in the human race are willing to contribute to you. To serve you. Xia Huyo said in a deep voice, let's not talk about other things. Back when you, Su Yu, left the Great Xia Manor, many people in the Great Xia Manor raised their arms and called for you. Even the Xia family was surrounded. My second grandfather was scolded so badly that he almost caused a huge mess. Do you think these people would stand up for you? The southern Yuan Manor was invaded by the outer manor. The southern Yuan people stood guard at your door and would rather die than take a step back. In the end, the southern Yuan turned into dust. Countless southern Yuan people are rebuilding their hometowns. Do these people have a grudge against you? The great Ming Manor surrounded and killed the myriad clan cult for you. The great Ming Manor head went to seek the realm of exploration to question the invincibility. Could it be that it was all for himself? Xia Huyo enunciated each word as he looked at Su Yu. Yes, I admit that the human race has a bunch of scoundrels, a bunch of vermin, a bunch of scoundrels who only know how to ask for benefits and aren't willing to give anything. But you, Su Yu, always like to kill everyone in one shot. Have they ever given anything for you? Think there are still some. Xia Huyo said sternly, don't use righteousness to suppress you, and that's meaningless. But I still want to say that the human race is not as dirty as you think. The great Qin King, who has been guarding the front line for more than 400 years, had 3 bodies destroyed and was hiding his identity. He was an invincible expert who was waiting for his last fight. Zhu Tianfang, who is hiding in the heaven-hunting pavilion. In my opinion, they are not as bad as you think. Su Yu looked at him silently. Xia Huyo also looked at Su Yu. Deep down, you still care about the human race. Since you feel that the human race is inappropriate, why don't you come out and solve these problems? If the great Qin King and the others couldn't solve it, they would have looked for you. If they could solve it, they would have solved it long ago. They care about many things, and they are a part of it, so they are in the game. And you are an outsider. If you think it's inappropriate, then you have the ability to change these things on your own. On what basis? Su Yu said coldly, on what basis do I have to change? On what basis? On the basis that you are a human, on the basis that you have lived peacefully in the human race for 18 years, on the basis that your ancestors were all human, on the basis that you, Suyu, are still a human. On the basis that you still have a hot-blooded heart. Tell me, on what basis? You're tuning into the Han Lee's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2848, Chapter 2848, Chapter 602, The more people there are, the better. 2. Chapter 2848, Chapter 602, The more people there are, the better. 2. Xia Huyo said angrily, "You think that the human race is unbearable, but you're not willing to solve this kind of unbearable situation. In this way, what's the difference between you and those who only complain about social injustice but are not willing to change themselves?" Suyu sneered, "Fine, fatty, you've learned how to speak eloquently." Xia Huyo gritted his teeth, Haven't learned how to speak and speak well, I've always known how to speak. I've come today to say that when you return, the great Xia Manor will support you and will definitely stand behind you. No matter how difficult it is, the great Xia Manor's thousands of soldiers will stand behind you. Billions of great Xia people will stand behind you. But if you need anything, Xia Dao is willing to fight for you. After saying that, Xia Huyo took out a saber and half-knelt on the ground. He raised his saber and shouted, "If you accept this saber, the great Xia mansion is willing to fight for you in the heavens." Suyu was stunned for a moment. He looked at him and then at the saber. The saber was slightly damaged. After a long while, he exhaled and said, "Don't play this game. I don't want to play this game. No, this is not playing." Xia Huyo said in a deep voice, "This is the will of the Xia family. The blade of the Xia family is not sharp enough. It cannot kill all enemies, and it cannot kill all powerful enemies. My great-grandfather, my second-grandfather, and my father all agree. If you return, the blade of the Xia family is willing to fight for you, and this race will fight for you." Suyu looked at him coldly and said, "I don't want to play this game." Xia Huyo raised his blade with both hands. "City Lord Su, this blade is the will of the Xia family and the great Xia family. The great Xia family is proud of you and proud of you. If you accept it, you will be responsible for the lives of the millions of people in the great Xia family." Suyu snorted. "Stop acting with me. Take back your blade. Are you going to play a bitter love scene with me?" Xia Huyo suddenly laughed and stood up. He put away his blade and said with a smile, "How was your acting? Are you in a good mood now? Suyu, give me some face. Go back and celebrate Uncle's birthday." He put away the broken Xia knife. A smile returned to his face. He had the cheeky smile from before, but he sighed in his heart. Suyu, he was not willing to accept this knife. Qin spear and Xia knife. Qin spear was willing to hand them over to him, and Xia knife was also willing. Unfortunately, Suyu himself was not willing. This was the true inheritance of the human race. However, Suyu seemed to know something. He did not want and was not willing to shoulder such a heavy responsibility. Either he was not prepared for this, or he really was not willing. Xia Huyo did not know what Suyu was thinking. He was just a little disappointed. As his father had said when he came, Suyu would not accept this knife. Because the current Suyu was not moved by the human race. He was only dissatisfied. Dissatisfied with the current situation, dissatisfied with the past. He did not see more. He had only lived in the great Xia mansion for 18 years. After that, his journey was bumpy. He fought his way up to the heavens and became the master of the ancient city. In Suyu's eyes, what he saw was perhaps more darkness. On the throne, Suyu watched Xia Huyo go from berating him, to being solemn, to being heavy, to finally smiling mischievously. Suyu was a smart person. Everyone gave each other a way out. Once they got down, everything would be over. That scene just now was not what he wanted to see. He did not accept the Xia family's knife. He could not accept it. Nor was he willing to accept it. Accepting this knife meant that he was willing to accept the heavy burden, as well as the lives and wealth of hundreds of millions of people. All of this was not something that Suyu could bear. This was a shackle. At the very least, it was a shackle now. Suyu was very clear in his heart, so he rejected it. Suyu walked down from the high platform and kicked Xia Huyo. He smiled and said, "Don't do this next time. I don't like it." Xia Huyo also laughed and said, one no. Don't worry. Don't you see how majestic you are? I'll let you relax a little. Ha ha ha, do you want a girl? If you do, I've brought a few hundred wives over. You pick a few. Scram. Suyu laughed and scolded. Xia Huyo also laughed and said, what? I'm just casually saying. They're all a bunch of birds and beasts, forget it, I won't send you off. As he said that, Xia Huyo laughed and said, alright, PM, not joking. This time, I'm calling you back. Let's not talk about other things, but the matters of the Holy Land are still somewhat serious. Let's continue first. If you don't want to do it, it's fine. If you want to do it, it's only natural. At the very least, you'll be known as the sole master of the Holy Land in the human realm. One had to know that before this, there was no lord of the sacred land in the human realm. The great Qin king and the great Zhou king were only in name, and they weren't the only ones. It's different now. The sacred land is the only one. As he said that, Xia Huyo laughed and said, also, the great Qin king and the others mean to send all the invincible descendants. In the future, whoever inherits the manor head will have to go to the sacred land to study. Suyu raised his eyebrows. Xia Huyo chuckled and said, don't count. I've already taken over. He was talking about the other great manors, such as the great Qin manor. Now that the manor head of the town Qin manor had become invincible, it would either be Qin Fong or General Qin Hao who would take over. Whoever took over would have to go to the sacred land to further their studies. He looked at Suyu and said, it's still quite serious. The great Qin king even mentioned that only with the permission of the sacred land would one be able to take over the position of manor head. Suyu was taken aback and looked at him. Xia Huyo nodded and said, it's just a suggestion, but it's true. The sacred land has centralized power. Xia Huyo gritted his teeth and said, on the sacred land side, the great Qin king also suggested that they have the power to remove the manor head. Of course, this also requires a certain procedure, but this is the first time since the establishment of the manor. Xia Huyo exhaled and said, this is very difficult, but the great Qin king and the others are fighting for it. Once they succeed, the future sacred land will be the center, core, and even the key to the human realm. A big manor has 3 important positions, and they need the sacred land to sign the documents before they can take up the positions. First, the director of the Strengthening Education Department. Second, the general of the army stationed in the heavens battlefield. Third, the director of the Administration Department. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2849, Chapter 2849, Chapter 602. Chapter 2849, Chapter 602. With the Great Xia Manor as an example, the first was Ji Hong, the second was the Devil Suppression Army or the Dragon Martial Guards General, and the third was Manager Hu. Manager Hu was just a name that everyone used, and the official title was the Director of the Government Affairs Bureau. To put it bluntly, other than the military, they were the type that meddled in everything. Suyu frowned, who would agree to that? The military, government affairs, education reserve forces, and even the manor head have all been handed over to the sacred land. Xia Huyo smiled and said, "It's hard to say in the past, but it's not certain in the future. Therefore, there are still some things that we have to strive for. Once we succeed, the human realm, the sacred land will be respected. As long as the higher-ups suppress those invincible ones, the unification of the human realm will not be a joke." It was obvious that the great Qin king and the others hoped to change this scene. However, Suyu could understand the difficulty of this just by thinking about it. It was very, very difficult. Suyu did not ask any further and said, "What about the Holy Land? I can't be bothered with this matter. You invited me to the human realm. Other than my father, is there anything else?" "There's nothing else, right?" Xia Huyo said uncertainly, "Probably not. They should know that it's very dangerous for me to go out now. There are too many people watching me." Suyu said in a deep voice, "Especially in the human realm. The guards can't go in easily, and I can't release too much death chi. Otherwise, it'll be very easy to open the undead passageway. Once the passageway is opened, there's no way to close it, and you'll all suffer. Therefore, in the human realm, my strength is greatly suppressed." Xia Huyo nodded, "Regarding your safety, I've also mentioned it. What my great-grandfather meant is that this time, he'll guard you all the way. You know his strength. If you want to get past him to deal with you, you'll need to at least advance to the Dao-merge realm. If you feel that it's inappropriate, you can add a great Ming King to protect you. Once they advance to the Dao-merge realm, they won't be able to take you down in a moment." Suyu smiled. "So, you still have sincerity?" The second-in-command of both the civil and military forces was willing to work together to protect Suyu's safety, so he naturally had sincerity. However, the more this was the case, the more Suyu felt that inviting him this time might not be simple. Such an arrangement. To be honest, it was somewhat unnecessary. Previously, Suyu was prepared to go to the human realm. However, even if he went, there was a high probability that he would not go deep into the human realm. Instead, he would go to the East Rift Valley and the vicinity of the passage. His main purpose was to take back the secret realm of his Sea of Consciousness. As for the matter of the traitor, the human race might not believe him yet. Now, the human realm had openly invited him to go. In name, it was to celebrate his birthday, but in reality, it was hard to say. It was said to be a holy land. However, the matters of the Holy Land were not something that Suyu could decide. The great Qin king's request was very high. In this situation, Suyu felt that even some unrivaled experts who were not in the mood would not necessarily agree. This was handing over his empire to someone else. All the power was handed over to the sacred land to decide. Suyu fell into deep thought. Inviting him was either the great Qin king's or the great Zhou king's idea. In any case, it would not be the great Xia king's idea. Even if the great Xia king invited him, he would only invite him to the great Xia manor, he would not talk about the sacred land. Xia Huyo knew that he was weighing the pros and cons. He thought about it and said, "I'll think that if you are really worried, you can invite the two of you to go with you." "What?" "Yes, yes." Xia Huyo winked and looked at his head. Suyu was stunned and quickly said, "Don't joke." He knew who he was talking about. The key was, "Do I want to die?" This big hairy ball and mother hairy ball found me and ate me at the first moment. Xia Huyo winked and said, "I'm not joking, what's there to be afraid of?" 2. Be honest, if I really bring these two with me, I'm not afraid of going anywhere. The guards have control, but these two don't. Suyu sneered and said, "One lost control. Heh, the human realm is gone." Xia Huyo was speechless. It was true, the two of them had reached the Dao merge. If they had really entered the human realm, once no one blocked them and swept past them, the human realm would probably be finished. The other Dao merge was actually fine, but these two, if they were swallowed in one gulp, their sea of consciousness would be gone. Thinking of this, Xia Huyo could not help but shudder. Cough cough, I was just joking. Su Yu rubbed his chin. That's true. I've never visited these two before. If I really went to meet them, I wouldn't need the two of them. Even if I brought one of them with me, I wouldn't be afraid of them ambushing me during the third level of the Dao merge. After this, I might really be in a lot of trouble. If one brought along the third level of the Dao merge, then I would be much safer. Old Turtle was indeed very strong, but he had a job to do, so he couldn't stay for too long. If he stayed for too long, it would be easy for problems to arise. I was afraid, but I was afraid. I went to meet him and greeted him. Hello, big brother. Hello, Owo. And then, there was no and then. Su Yu was also afraid. He shuddered. This was the impression these two experts gave him. Eat, eat, eat. He shook his head. He was a little afraid. I'm not at ease. But in the end, I still had thoughts. If I can really bring these two along, I don't care what schemes you have. If I don't bring more than 3 third-level Dao merge cultivators, I'm not afraid of you at all. This suggestion can be considered. When Xia Huyo saw that he was silent, he said, then it's settled. You can go to the human realm and take a look at the rebuilt Southern Yuan. After all, it's your hometown. It was destroyed the last time. How about the rebuilt Southern Yuan? Su Yu smiled and said, on the human side, I always ask you to look for me whenever something happens. You really dare to do it. Fatty, aren't you afraid that I'll be overthinking things? Xia Huyo shrugged and shook the fat on his body. He said indifferently, it's easy for other people to get into trouble if they come. So what if I come? One won't be killed by you, right? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2850, Chapter 2850, Chapter 602, The more people there are, the more fragrant it will be. 4. Chapter 2850, Chapter 602, The more people there are, the more fragrant it will be. 4. As he spoke, he chuckled and said, this also shows that I have good taste. The first time I saw you, I knew that you would definitely be rich and noble. Look, I saw it right. In the blink of an eye, you have become the overlord of the ancient city. Su Yu smiled, and Xia Huyo said, oh right, your father wishes you a birthday. Do you have any requests? Is it a human realm grand banquet or a grand banquet of the heavens? Invite some of the experts of the heavens to participate. Su Yu laughed, your idea? Whose idea is it? The experts from the heavens dare to participate before reaching the Dao merge. Aren't you afraid that I, Su Yu, will turn hostile and kill them all in one go? You can't say that. Xia Huyo smiled and said, sometimes, when the two armies are fighting, they don't even kill their envoys. Invite some of the experts from the heavens to express some of your intentions and ease everyone's tension. Look, I've already invited you all to participate in my father's birthday celebration. This means that you're a pacifist. There's no need to invite two strong people to avoid trouble. Invite some geniuses, such as Zhan Wushuang and Madonna. Do they dare to come? Su Yu laughed, Xia Huyo also laughed. Why not? They are indeed geniuses, but if we kill them now, other than inciting the anger of the large clans, will it be of any use? The current them pose no threat to you. Killing them will only make the large clans even more hostile towards you and the human race. As he said this, he added, moreover, they can still be used as a bargaining chip at such a critical moment. Why did they come? Su Yu smiled and said, what do you think? Xia Huyo casually said, I'll investigate your situation up close and find an opportunity to understand how the human race is talking to you this time. It's all very important information. Su Yu looked at him. Your idea? No, it's the great Qin King's. Xia Huyo smiled and said, he hopes that you can invite more friends from various races over. Don't spend all your time fighting and killing. This time, if you really want to celebrate your birthday, you have to give him face. The 36 prefectures have to send important people over. Su Yu fell into deep thought. The great Qin King. Would the great Qin King hold a big birthday party for his father? What a joke. This old man, he was several hundred years old and probably couldn't even remember. Su Yu exhaled and said, he's making such a big fuss. Isn't he afraid that something will happen? Then I'm not sure. Xia Huyo explained, I'm really not sure about that. You can do as you see fit. As for uncle's safety, it's also guaranteed. What my father and the others mean is that you go back first and see the real thing. On the day of your birthday, you can fake it. F***ck. Even your father faked it for me. Su Yu was speechless. What on earth are the great Qin King and the others going to do? Don't tell me they're going to make trouble at the banquet and fight. Fight who? Su Yu said in puzzlement, are they prepared to fight? Fight a traitor. The human traitor? A traitor other than the Burning Sea King? Or fight me? One don't know. These are top secrets. They won't tell me even if they know. What I told you is all I know. Su Yu exhaled and kept thinking. After a long time, he said, L might not go. Besides, my father's birthday is in a few months. Ahem, the birthday banquet will be held in half a month. Su Yu was speechless. So my father's birthday has been changed. That's great. I'll think about it. Su Yu thought to himself. If he really wanted to go, he had to be fully prepared. If it really didn't work out, Su Yu will take a risk and go find those two scary big shots. We can meet and talk about child rearing and infant rearing. What those two cared about was the Golden Atlas. Perhaps one might even know something. They helped me a few times, so it's normal etiquette for them to visit me and thank me. Su Yu kept saying in his heart, then that's it. If I can trick them into protecting me, I'll go. Otherwise, I'll secretly look for an opportunity to go. I won't go now. It's too dangerous. On Xia Huyo's side, Su Yu didn't give a clear answer. And the universe was still staring at Su Yu. They wanted to see if Su Yu would go to the human realm. If he went, what should they do? Go to the human realm to attack Su Yu? Or what? Su Yu couldn't be bothered with these things. At this moment, he was looking at little Hairy Ball. Little Hairy Ball looked at Su Yu pitifully while Su Yu rubbed his chin thoughtfully. He kept staring at little Hairy Ball. After looking at him for a long time, little Hairy Ball couldn't help but say, L didn't steal anything. I'll be embarrassed if I keep looking. Su Yu smiled. L didn't say that you stole anything. Besides, we're family. So what if you eat a little? How can it be called stealing? Little Hairy Ball was stunned for a moment. So what if it smelled good? Su Yu smiled and said, Hairy Ball, just tell me, is your big brother Su treating you well? Hairy Ball was stunned. After a long while, its eyes were almost filled with tears. L vomited all the last time, and I don't have any more storage now. Don't be like this, always squeezing the ball. Su Yu sighed. You say that. Am I that kind of person? You don't know how to speak at all. Su Yu pursed his lips and soon laughed. Let me ask you something. Are you big and big fierce? They're not fierce. The little Hairy Ball quickly said, they're all good balls. Don't say balls. You have to say that you're the god-devouring race. How could he say that he was a ball? How bad would that be? He added, in the future, I won't call you Hairy Ball anymore. I'll call you the God-devouring Crown Prince, Your Highness the Crown Prince. Don't let it slip. You're not a ball. You're the Crown Prince. You're tuning into the Han Lee's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2851, Chapter 2851, Chapter 602, The more people there are, the better. 5. Chapter 2851, Chapter 602, The more people there are, the better. 5. Harry Ball blinked. Are you trying to trick me, Dada? Suyu sighed and rubbed its head. Children really don't know how to talk. It's not a trick, it's a courtesy visit. You've saved us a few times. Do you think we should thank you? Yes. Then shouldn't we bring some gifts and pay a visit? Yes. Also, you've been away from home for so long. Don't you miss home? A little. Then I'll bring you home to visit your family, okay? Harry Ball looked at Suyu. I'm not stupid. You just want to lie to me, Dada. If you don't go home, you'll definitely lie to me, Dada. This child isn't obedient. Suyu pinched it, smiling, he said, Dada is so amazing, how can I lie to you? I heard that your family is related to King Wen. Think about it, PM related to King Wen as well. King Wen is the one who passed down the many divine inscriptions. As for me, I might even be a Shiguang master. If Shiguang master is also the one who passed down King Wen's inheritance, then I would be the direct descendant of King Wen. In that case, are we all on the same side? Little Harry Ball was confused and nodded. It made sense. So, if I go to your house, will you eat me? One don't know. Suyu was tired. Then, if you eat me, will you stop me? If you jump out and say that you dare to eat Big Brother Su, I will self-destruct. Harry Ball. No, Your Highness, what do you think? Harry Ball was confused. This was not good. Suyu said earnestly, Harry Ball. Your Highness. If you follow me, how much delicious food have you eaten? The Heaven Yuan Qi is trash. You have a lot of willpower, and you have also eaten quite a lot of divine runes. You have even eaten the power of rules, can you eat it at home? If I were to be eaten up by you, what would that be called? Harry Ball thought for a moment. Fish in a pond? That's right, smart. His Highness has even learned how to use idioms. Suyu clapped for it. Well said. Suyu smiled and said, think about it. Am I the most troublemaker in all of the universe? Yes, yes. Then think about it again. If I die, wouldn't it drag you home to sleep? Yes, yes. Are you willing to kill all the heavens and eat all the delicacies with me, or are you willing to go home to sleep with Dada? With you. Suyu clapped for it again and laughed, so, if you want to eat me, what should you do? Shut up, if you dare to eat me, I'll self-destruct. That's right. Suyu laughed, that's right, be more decisive and firm. I'll make you believe that if it really eats me, you'll self-destruct. Harry Ball nodded. I'll remember it. After some thought, he said, then. Then I'll help you put on an act. Will you give me any benefits? F*CKU. You already know how to put on an act, and you even learned how to ask for remuneration for your services. Suyu was tired. Alright, when there's something good later, I can give it to you to taste first. Let's find an opportunity to go to your house. Oh right, what gifts do you and Dada like? Tiangu. Harry Ball was not sure. He should like this. Suyu was speechless. Nonsense, I know, but where the F*CK am I going to get a Tiangu as a gift? After thinking for a while, Suyu quickly gritted his teeth and said, forget it, you can't trap a wolf if you can't bear to part with a child. Dada should like to eat Tianyuan fruits. After saying that, Suyu suddenly took out an incomparably huge round ball. It was all Tian Yuan Chi. I'll make you a huge Tian Yuan fruit. How about it? No, I'll give your mum one too. Suyu thought about it and decided that this would save him some money. He thought about it again and realized that it was too small. He had seen too many of them and did not want them. Alright, one have an idea. I'll make 2 huge round balls with a diameter of 100 meters. A huge Tian Yuan fruit. I bet you haven't seen such a big one before, right? One made it. This one was a little cheaper. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to give it away. Little Hairy Ball didn't care. What was so good about Heaven Origin Chi? If he ate too much, he wouldn't be interested at all. Stingy. After criticizing Suyu in his heart, Hairy Ball couldn't be bothered to say anything more. He continued to hide in his sea of will to lick the divine runes. He might as well give a few divine runes to me, the Great One. This kind of innate was the best. Unfortunately, the fragrance was too stingy. He definitely couldn't bear to part with it. Suyu was preparing to go to the god-devouring realm. As for Xing Hong, he repeatedly warned, if you go, be careful. These two are not to be trifled with. They have no attachments and are all alone. They will eat you up if you say so. Even Suyu was a little scared by what he was being said. However, they still had to meet. Without these two, there were some things that were difficult to do. These two had helped him a few times and he had even stolen their babies. It wasn't appropriate for him not to go and see them. Lord, don't worry. Suyu could only comfort himself like this. Very quickly, he said, Lord, once my city Lord token moves, you have to come and save me. Xing Hong was speechless. If he was really eaten inside, it would be very difficult for him to save you. He told Suyu about the entrance to the god-devouring realm and did not say anything more. The problem was probably not big. If those 2 hairy balls really wanted to eat Suyu, they would have come and eaten him long ago. Why did they have to wait until now? Doubao and King Wen's relationship was not ordinary. Suyu could be considered a direct descendant of King Wen, so he should still give them some face. Suyu did not have time to think about it. Very quickly, he teleported the ancient city of Xinghong and disappeared. He quickly teleported 7 or 8 places to the ancient city. In the blink of an eye, Suyu left the ancient city. As for Xinghong, he continued to teleport the ancient city. A moment later, some of the people who were watching lost track of Suyu. Many people guessed that it was related to the human race's previous visit. Was the human race conspiring with Suyu again? At this moment, Suyu's every move was being watched by the heavens. As for Suyu, he had already quickly entered the territory of the god-devouring realm. Not long after, he arrived at the entrance of the ancient god-devouring realm, and his voice spread at a special frequency. Demigod-devouring Emperor, this junior Suyu requests an audience. Big brother, I'm going home. Little Hairy Ball also shouted. In the ancient god-devouring realm. On a huge heaven origin fruit tree, Doubao was snoring. Suddenly, he opened his eyes, and his expression was a bit dazed. Soon, he squeezed the cue ball next to him and asked, Is someone calling us? Is there? The cue ball was also dozing off. They had just fought a few days ago, so they were all tired. As the 2 balls spoke, they looked outside. Doubao's nose twitched. It smells a little fragrant, and it smells like our little guy. That human is here. Oh, oh. The 2 balls looked at each other, and their noses twitched. They could smell the fragrance even from afar. They really wanted to eat it. A moment later, Doubao opened a passage and saw Suyu on the opposite side and the little hairy ball on top of his head. The little hairy ball flew over excitedly, and Doubao also went up excitedly to welcome it. They brushed past each other, and in an instant, Doubao appeared on top of Suyu's head. He smelled it and was intoxicated. It smelled so good. Harry Ball had a depressed look on his face. Very quickly, he flew toward the cue ball with a smile. The cue ball also welcomed him with a smile. It brushed past him and instantly landed on top of Su Yu's head, smelling it together with Do Bao. It smelled so good. Intoxicated. And at this moment, Su Yu's sweat dripped out. Damn! I don't want these two kids anymore. This welcoming ceremony caught me off guard. In front of me, Harry Ball's face was filled with sadness. Dada and Mama don't want me anymore. It's too sad. In the next moment, Harry Ball flew back dejectedly and forcefully stepped between the two couples. It also squatted on top of Su Yu's head and sniffed. It also sniffed the scent and said, intoxicated, the whole family smells it. It seems to smell even better. This was just like eating. The more people there were, the more fragrant it would be. Harry Ball suddenly felt that the fragrance was even more fragrant than usual. Su Yu was sweating profusely. Drip, drip, drip. Harry Ball was unreliable. I actually believed it. Where was the promised self-destruction? Did you forget about it? At this moment, Su Yu was like a wooden man. He did not dare to move, afraid of angering this family. Terrible one. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2852, Chapter 2852, Chapter 603 Harry Ball Clan Requests for L. Chapter 2852, Chapter 603 Harry Ball Clan Requests for L. Seniors. Su Yu finally spoke. If he didn't, I felt like this family was really going to eat me up. Your Highness, wake up. Su Yu's tone became heavier. Harry Ball, it was time to work. Oh. Harry Ball woke up and instantly jumped up. Duh, I'm back. Oh. Big Harry Ball nodded. So what if I'm back? It's not like I don't know where you are. Is it strange that you're back? Little Harry Ball was instantly depressed, but he quickly recovered. This is my orchard. Huh? Su Yu was slightly startled. He suddenly looked at Harry Ball with a dangerous gaze. I'm your orchard. Sure. Very impressive. Little Harry Ball blinked his eyes. I'm just lying to you. I'm just lying to you. Don't take it to heart. Su Yu cursed inwardly. Who are you trying to fool? P. You must really be thinking this way. Big Harry Ball ignored him and took a deep breath of Su Yu before sighing deeply. What a fragrant smell. I want to eat it. Big. Senior. Big Harry Ball only took a deep breath before muttering, speaking of which, it seems to be the inheritance of a time master. You can't eat it carelessly. If you eat it, what if that time travel master returns and collects my corpse? Time master. Mother Ball looked at Big Harry Ball doubtfully. Big Harry Ball's eyes were filled with regret as he said, Time master, don't you know? He's very powerful. He's able to control the river of time and space and travel all over the world. Every time he sees someone, he would say, your time is up, I'm here to collect your corpse. Shaking his head, Big Harry Ball sighed deeply. For such a peerless expert, to end up missing or dying. Even King Wen said that there's one less powerful opponent in the world. Su Yu was stunned for a moment before he hurriedly said, aren't Shi Guangshi and King Wen the same person? Wasn't it? Big Harry Ball looked at him strangely. How can that be? King Wen is King Wen and Shi Guangshi is Shi Guangshi. Little fellow, why do you have such thoughts? Su Yu was stunned, wasn't it? How could it be? But the heaven hunting roll and Shi Guangshi's inheritance. Oh, you mean the heaven hunting roll? Big Harry Ball sighed, that's the divine weapon forged by King Wen imitating the Time Master's time book. It's incomparably powerful. It's just that it doesn't have the essence. Su Yu was completely stunned. Time Master and King Wen were not the same person. The heaven hunting roll was only an imitation of the divine weapon, not the real time book. This was completely different from what he had expected. Big Hairy Ball asked in a weird manner, "You thought it was the same person?" I thought it was. Big Hairy Ball asked in a weird manner, "Why do you think so?" There was nothing in common between King Wen and Shi Guang Master. Oh. They were the same as you, and liked to wear white clothes. Could it be that they were the same person? Shi Guang Master had appeared several times, and they were all female. King Wen was a male, so how could they be the same person? Su Yu was stunned once more. He had only just arrived, but Big Hairy Ball's words had already stunned him a few times. Female? Shi Guang sure was a female. What the f***ck? It couldn't be. Big Hairy Ball continued, "It's all just wild guesses outside. In any case, I've seen Shi Guang sure before, and I've even chatted with King Wen before. It's been a long, long time, but I haven't seen Shi Guang sure since the last time I saw her." Su Yu's expression was strange. Very quickly, he hurriedly said, "Shall we go in and chat first? I even brought gifts for the two seniors." Gifts? Food? Yes, yes, yes. Su Yu quickly entered the passageway. He did not want to be seen chatting idly at the entrance. Very quickly, he entered the ancient god-devouring realm. The dense yuan qi shocked even Su Yu. It was so dense. The entire ancient god-devouring realm was not too big. It was densely packed. There were heaven-origin fruit trees everywhere. There were so many of them. Su Yu thought of something and suddenly said, "Senior, there are so many heaven-origin fruit trees here. I heard that heaven-origin qi was born after some experts died." "That's right." Big Hairy Ball said matter-of-factly, "I only eat divine words. My wife only eats the sea of will. The rest of the corpses A_re buried, and then trees grow." All the hairs on his body stood up. "Fierce beast. Fierce beast. I said that the yuan qi here was so dense, and there were so many heaven-origin fruit trees. In other words, they had eaten people and left the corpses behind to plant trees. Terrifying. I knew that the ancient god-devouring race was not ordinary. So was little Hairy Ball. When he swallowed people, he showed no mercy. He had no intention of not killing people. Indeed, this race was all fierce beasts." Su Yu suppressed his palpitations and hurriedly took out two huge heaven-origin fruits. The Big Hairy Ball took a look and became interested. "What a big fruit. Unfortunately, it's fake. If it really grew this big, it would at least need to bury a half-emperor. Go ahead and bury it." The mother ball happily took the fruit that belonged to it and bit down on it. It did not hold back at all. With such a big fruit, it was still very enjoyable to sleep and eat inside. As for whether it was real or not, it did not matter. It was almost the same taste. At that moment, Hairy Ball and his family flew towards the biggest heaven-origin fruit tree. Su Yu took a look and saw that it was really big. It was at least 10,000 meters tall. It was also full of big heaven-origin fruits. Big Hairy Ball and the others looked only as big as the fruits. If it was little Hairy Ball, it was not as big as those fruits. Soon, the family of three flew to the top of the tree. On the top of the tree, layers upon layers of golden leaves covered it, forming a nest. Those golden leaves were very soft and tough. Su Yu gently stepped on them and felt a rich yuan qi enter his body from the leaves. What a rich yuan qi! Senior. Under this tree. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2853, Chapter 2853, Chapter 603 Harry Ball Clan Chu Subscribe, 2. Chapter 2853, Chapter 603 Harry Ball Clan Chu Subscribe, 2. Big Harry Ball knew what he wanted to ask and casually said, "Oh, buried a very powerful hoe. I didn't eat it, but King Wen beat him to death. I saw that he was still alive, so I brought him back to eat the divine text and buried him." What a powerful hoe. How powerful was he? Big Harry Ball even said that he was powerful, and that he was probably at the peak of the immortal soul 3rd level. Su Yu was speechless. He suddenly thought of something and said, "Then a few years ago, Senior Empress." The cue ball poked its head out of the great heavenly yuan fruit. "Are you calling me?" Big Harry Ball said casually, "Just call me Cookcake. My wife's name is Cookcake." Su Yu was stunned for a moment and felt a little embarrassed. A few years ago, Senior Cookcake killed a celestial who was invincible. Why didn't he bring back the corpse to plant the tree? He remembered that someone had mentioned this matter. The Darming King had even picked up a complete godly king corpse. On the other side, the cue ball was jumping around on the great heaven primordial fruit. When it heard this, it said casually, I remember now. I was in a hurry to eat the heavenly ancient that day and happened to see a human king bloodline. I conveniently threw it to him." Human king bloodline. Su Yu was slightly startled and hurriedly asked, "Prison king bloodline?" "No way." The cue ball said in surprise, "It's not prison king, right?" "It doesn't seem to be." Su Yu heaved a sigh of relief. He was afraid of hearing the words human king bloodline now. He immediately asked, "Is Darming Kine the human king bloodline?" "Oh, is that Darming King?" The cue ball seemed to have just found out about this matter. It casually said, "There are several eternity of the human race. They are all human king bloodlines, right?" It was easier for the human king bloodline to rise. The Xia family was, and the Zhu family seemed to be as well. With the addition of the hidden prison king bloodline, this human king bloodline was not lacking. Then am I of the human king bloodline? Su Yu was curious. If you can see it, then can you see me? Also, if the big ball can see it, then doesn't that mean that it can directly see who is of the human king bloodline? Who was of the prison king bloodline? As he was thinking, the cue ball said, "Punch with all your strength and see." You can only see it when the bloodline explodes. Su Yu's heart moved slightly. It seemed to be the case. The last time, Old Turtle seemed to have said that the bloodline imprint would only be exposed when the bloodline explodes with all its strength. And what he saw was that the other party had specially created it to display his bloodline. Su Yu went all out and punched out. The 3 balls looked at him in unison. Big Hairy Ball looked for a while and shook his head. "I can't see the power of the ancient bloodline. It's not the human king bloodline." Su Yu was puzzled. "Am I not? Then why is my talent so good?" His talent was really very good. Whether it was his physical body or the divine literature, his talent was excellent. Su Yu thought that he was also some powerful bloodline. Since he wasn't, could it be that the Golden Atlas had transformed him? Su Yu thought for a moment and suddenly said, "Could it be that I have the bloodline of human emperor?" Big Hairy Ball looked at him like he was an idiot. After a long while, he said, "Human emperor doesn't have a bloodline inheritance." What was this guy thinking? Su Yu was speechless. Didn't he? Human emperor was an old bachelor. It was rare for Su Yu to meet such an old antique, and it was one that had a great relationship with King Wen. At this moment, Su Yu felt slightly relieved. At least this guy did not say that he wanted to eat him. Su Yu was a little curious as he said respectfully, "Senior, you said that King Wen and Master Shi Guan are not the same person." King Wen copied the time book and created the heaven hunting list. Does that mean that the heaven hunting list is actually a complete weapon? Of course. Big Hairy Ball casually picked off a large heaven origin fruit and stuffed it into Little Hairy Ball's hands. He then picked an even larger one and the family of 3 ate the heaven origin fruit. He replied, "That is a complete weapon." However, it broke down and scattered all over the place. Suyu seemed to have thought of something as he took out the record fragment. "Senior, is this an accessory from the heaven hunting list?" Big Hairy Ball took a sniff and thought for a while. "It tastes similar." "I guess so." "Probably." Suyu said softly, "Senior, are you sure?" Big Hairy Ball said perfunctorily, "I've never eaten the heaven hunting list before. How would I know? It probably smells like this." Suyu was deep in thought. "Senior, I suspect that this is fake. Do you think it's possible?" "Is that so?" Big Hairy Ball did not mind. "Then it's a fake." "So be it." Suyu quickly said, "Senior, then do you think that this thing is made from a replica of the time book? Can the real time book be controlled? Can it be controlled?" Big Hairy Ball said uncertainly, "It's like a father beating his son. It should be something that can be controlled. Look, I can beat our young man." Bang! It stretched out its hand and slapped Little Hairy Ball into a pancake before saying casually, "So, the Book of Time can probably hunt the heaven roll like this as well." It was a very vivid analogy. Suyu instantly understood. As for Little Hairy Ball, it had an aggrieved look on its face as it pitifully turned into a ball. It was no longer a pancake and was a little further away from Big Hairy Ball. It was extremely violent. At that moment, Suyu exhaled softly. He had come here to eat a melon first. King Wen and Shi Guang were not the same person, a man and a woman. To think that the heaven hunting list was actually the son of the Book of Time and not a part of it. Then, the thing in his head was the Book of Time. In other words, he had thought that the Golden Book of Time might not be complete even if it was incomplete. Perhaps it was complete. Since it was an imitation, it meant that the time book also had the heaven hunting list function. However, Suyu had not discovered it yet. With that said, it made Suyu more interested in the Golden Book. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2854, Chapter 2854, Chapter 603 Hairy Ball Clan 3. Chapter 2854, Chapter 603 Hairy Ball Clan 3. Suyu actually had a lot of questions he wanted to ask, but he was afraid that he would annoy him. Very quickly, he stopped asking and asked, "Senior, have you been to the human realm all these years?" "No." Do Bao shook his head. Haven't. There's no point in going. Besides, I just woke up not long ago." He didn't even have the time to go. "Then Senior, do you know that the human realm is completely different from before?" "Is that so?" Do Bao asked curiously, "How is it different? Could it be that divine runes can be planted? Grown on trees?" Suyu was embarrassed, but his eyes moved. "Don't tell me, it's really possible." It was indeed possible. Suyu seemed to have heard that the great Zhou Manor might really be studying this. Really? Do Bao's interest was instantly piqued. Can divine runes really be grown? Are cultured divine runes delicious? I'm not sure. Who asked whether divine runes were delicious or not? Suyu thought for a moment and said, "From the point of view of breeding and wildlife, the taste of breeding might be a little worse, but I feel that the difference in taste shouldn't be too big." A bubble appeared beside Doubao. It was a big hairy ball with a tree beneath it. It was about the same size as the current Tian Yuan fruit tree, but it was producing divine runes. The hairy ball was eating divine runes. 1, 2, 3. Very soon, the bubble burst. Suyu was speechless. What was this? I'm convinced. Is this even possible? Was Doubao dreaming just now? Big hairy ball quickly came to his senses. He looked at Su Yu and said in a daze, "Is that tree big? How did you plant the divine runes tree? Can you teach me?" On the other side, Q Ball shouted, "I'm tired of the divine runes. Is there a tree with a sea of consciousness?" Su Yu hurriedly said, really don't know if this is a tree or not. I only heard that there are artificially bred divine runes. I'm not sure if it's real or not. Not sure. Dou Bao seemed to be a little displeased. Su Yu immediately said, "Actually, Senior can go and take a look. Go and take a look at the human realm." Dou Bao shook his head and said, "I'm not going. The human realm is definitely not as fun as it used to be. There's always something fun. That won't do either. The human realm won't let me in." Su Yu smiled and said, "If Senior really wants to go in, I can think of a way. As long as Senior doesn't run around and kill randomly, I can take Senior to tour the human realm and have a taste of the delicacies." "Liar, you want to trick me into being your hired thug?" Dou Bao muttered. Su Yu was stunned for a moment and said awkwardly, "Senior, you misunderstood. One didn't." Dou Bao looked down on him. "I've lived for countless years and have long been used to seeing a liar like you. You only know how to lie and don't know how to respect the elderly and love the young." Su Yu was depressed. "I thought you were easy to talk to, but, now that you're talking, it's too embarrassing." "Senior, that's not what I meant." "Oh, then one won't be your bodyguard." "Senior, I invited you to help me rebuild the human realm and restore King Wen's glory." Dou Bao nodded. "Okay, you want to be King Wen. That, Senior, you can treat me as King Wen. I'm the successor of King Wen. The many divine runes are King Wen's legacy. If you're King Wen, then King Wen promised to give me 100 immortal soul third-level divine runes back then. Do you have any?" Su Yu wanted to cry. "Forget about immortal soul third-level divine runes, I don't even have eternal divine runes. Are you playing with me, old man? Little guy, be more sincere." Dou Bao's eyes were full of hints. "I've eaten more divine runes than you've ever seen. Divine runes are the key to wisdom. Little guy, you're too stupid. He even tricked me." Su Yu was helpless. He smiled bitterly and said, "It's like this. I want to go to the human realm, but I'm afraid that I'll be killed. Someone is plotting against me, so I want Senior to go with me. This is the matter." Only then did Dou Bao nod. "Keep it simple. It's complicated. That's for young people. We're old, and old people like to keep it simple." Su Yu nodded. "All right then. As expected, old people are shrewd, Ball has become shrewd." Compared to Hairy Ball, Dou Bao was much harder to fool. Big Hairy Ball yawned and said, "I'm old, and I can't be bothered to move. I've been fighting a few times, and I'm not full. I don't feel like moving." Su Yu was depressed. It seemed like he had come for nothing. At this moment, Little Hairy Ball suddenly said, "Big, let's go together. If it's fragrant, we might be able to catch some food to eat." Big Hairy Ball continued to yawn. What can he catch to eat? Heavenly Ancient or Silent Void? If it doesn't work, he can also eat that Supervisor Heavenly Marquis. As he said that, he said, he can also eat that old turtle. The old turtle was also delicious. Su Yu was embarrassed. "Forget it, I can't let you eat these experts. They're too strong." It seemed that it would be difficult to bring a third-level cultivator to protect him. Big Hairy Ball was lazy, but Q Ball asked curiously, "Don't you have the divine symbol tree? Also, what's the human realm like now?" Yes, Big Hairy Ball was not interested, but Q Ball liked to run around. Big Hairy Ball was a homebody, but Q Ball was not. Pancake was very patient. He could stay outside the immortal realm for hundreds of years. He also liked to run around. Otherwise, he would not have killed the godly king and been picked up by the great Ming king. Su Yu's eyes moved. Big Hairy Ball knew what he was thinking. He said lazily, "Young man, think carefully. My wife has a very bad temper." "Boss, my temper is very good." "Very good, and you still eat so much." "One don't eat much." "Nonsense, you almost ate me." You're tuning into the Han Lee's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2855, Chapter 2855, Chapter 603 Hairy Ball Clan 4. Chapter 2855, Chapter 603 Hairy Ball Clan 4. That's because I'm too hungry. Su Yu was frightened by the couple's argument. What did they mean by this? The cue ball had a bad temper and was casually eating people. Even the big hairy ball was almost eaten. Just as he was hesitating, the cue ball said, "Little guy, you want to find someone to help you fight? I'll go, I'll accompany you to the human realm." Are there many people who cultivate divine runes in the human realm? Su Yu was helpless. That, senior cookhouse, I think we should forget about it. How can we forget about it? Mother Ball's temper really didn't seem good. She said a little angrily, "You're looking for someone to fight, but I'm here. Why didn't you look for me?" Su Yu wanted to cry. He was scared out of his wits because he didn't look as reliable as Big Hairy Ball. Big Hairy Ball was at least more reliable. Therefore, even if this third-level immortal soul stage cultivator volunteered himself, Su Yu was still a little worried. He was worried that there would be a problem and that he would not be able to control it. Once he started killing wantonly in the human realm, he would not be able to stop it. Of course, he did not dare to say these words, so he could only make up an excuse. "I'm afraid that Senior Cookhouse is too tired. This time, when I return to the human realm, I might encounter big trouble, then I'll need to fight even more. If I fight, I'll be full." "No, Mother Ball was angry. "Do you think I'm not as strong as the leader?" "No." Mother Ball snorted. "I'm not as strong as the leader, you liar." She was tired. She was already a ball, but even a mother was harder to deal with than a father. Big Hairy Ball, on the other hand, thought for a moment and said, "Then I'll let Cookie go with you. My wife is still very strong, but I think you're worried that Cookie will kill people." Su Yu nodded silently. "Yes, that's right. You don't have to worry too much about that. Cook Cake looks down on ordinary people. Those who are too powerful are all enemies. Anyway, there aren't many powerhouses in your human race anymore." These words didn't sound like there was anything wrong with what he said. Didn't Cook Cake not even look up to the Darming King? He didn't even eat it. He probably didn't look up to that ordinary invincible person either. Su Yu thought for a moment and said, "Senior Cook Cake, then. If you want to go to the human realm with me, look, who do you want to eat? Can you say hello to me?" "Sure, I'll eat after I say hello." "No. What I mean is that some people can't eat it. If I say that I can't eat it, can Senior not eat it?" The cue ball said unhappily, "Isn't that very sullen?" No. I mean, if you don't eat it now, you can eat better in the future. Senior, do you think it's okay?" Cook Cake thought for a moment and said reluctantly, "It's barely okay. Look at how you raised our little guy to be fat and chubby. I'll believe you just this once." Fat and chubby. Su Yu glanced at the little hairy ball. "Is it? Why do I feel the same as when I first saw it?" If Cook Cake was really obedient, bringing this person to the human realm would guarantee his safety. The main reason was that he was afraid that it would not listen to him and that he would not be able to control it. If he really sneaked into the human realm and started killing wantonly, then he would be a sinner. Doubao was at the side, yawning. He was extremely sleepy and said casually, "It's not a big deal. Cook cake would not kill casually, just like you. Would you have nothing to do and step on ants everywhere?" Little hairy ball interjected, "He does." Su Yu was speechless. When have I ever done something like this? This guy, nonsense. Doubao was also speechless. He patted little hairy ball again and looked at Su Yu. "You came here just for this?" "Yes." "Then let Pancake go with you." Su Yu thought for a moment and nodded. Then, he said hesitantly, "Senior, can I ask you a question?" "Sure." Little Mao. Cough cough, Your Highness is on my side. Senior knows about it, so why don't you take him with you? This was also something that he was puzzled about. Why didn't he take him with him? Doubao asked casually, "Why do you want to bring him back?" "It's very difficult to grow up if you bring him back. My clan is somewhat dependent on others. It's best to find a cultivator with divine runes to grow up with. I grew up with King Wen back then." Su Yu asked doubtfully, "Senior, is it really King Wen's divine culture?" Doubao looked at him, and Su Yu's heart palpitated. Why, did he ask something he shouldn't have asked? Doubao hesitated for a moment, but he still said, "If you say it is, you can say so too. But in reality, it's not really. Let's put it this way, forget it, you might not understand, but me, PM actually a kind of rule, do you understand the rules?" Then, King Wen gave birth to spirituality. Su Yu understood. He nodded, understood. A natural divine text is a natural rule, and a divine text is a rule. Senior, this rule gave birth to spirituality. However, according to my previous deduction, if Senior is like this, you should be at the Great Tao realm, the same level as a human king. High, are you only at the 3rd level? Doubao looked at him with a strange expression. He really understood. You're quite smart. That's indeed the case. I could be considered a natural divine text, born from natural law. After that, King Wen met me. After a long period of nurturing, I gained spirituality. King Wen didn't destroy my spirituality. Instead, he stripped me. After that, the heavens had Doubao. The reason why I'm in the 3rd level. Doubao thought for a moment and said, "Because I'm not complete. I'm not a complete rule." Su Yu suddenly had a thought. He glanced at the pancake and the little hairy ball out of the corner of his eye. Doubao seemed to know what he was thinking. He explained, "My wife and my young man were both born with my own rules. They weren't to supplement my rules. They were separate rules. They were the kind of separate rules. Do you understand?" You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2856, Chapter 2856, Chapter 603 The Hairy Ball Family, 1. Chapter 2856, Chapter 603 The Hairy Ball Family, 1. Gung requests to subscribe, 5. I'm too lonely. Doubao sighed, so after King Wen disappeared, I gave birth to my wife. Then, my wife went out and disappeared. I couldn't be bothered to look for her, so I gave birth to my young man. Su Yu completely understood at this moment. These were the incarnations of the 3 rules. He understood. Whether it was Doubao, the pancake, or hairy ball, they could be considered a family, but in reality, these were 3 different rules. Su Yu suddenly said, "So, you love to eat the divine runes and the Sea of Will, but in fact, all of them are to supplement the rules." Little hairy ball was the same. It liked to lick the divine runes because the divine runes contained some power of rules. It felt that licking it would help it perfect the power of rules. Doubao nodded, "You're very smart. It's not tiring to talk to people like you. If it were other people, it would be hard to understand. They're all very stupid." They always say that we only like to eat and we like to kill. No, we only like to eat things that can perfect ourselves. For example, the power of laws. For example, some of the power of laws in the divine runes. Su Yu really understood this time. What they needed was the power of laws. And not some divine runes or yuan qi. They were not laws. So little hairy ball, by following me, can absorb some of the power of laws in my divine runes? Big hairy ball nodded, yes, actually, it won't harm your divine runes either. That's because your divine runes will automatically emit some unneeded power of laws. It's like breathing. And the little fellow can absorb this power. The purer the divine runes, the more it likes them. Su Yu nodded. He understood. No wonder little hairy ball liked those innate divine runes. It should be because the law energy was purer. But at this moment, little hairy ball was rubbing his tears. Big boss, didn't you give birth to me? Do Bao laughed and said, it's the same. You were originally an unconscious law energy. I nurtured you, so of course you can be considered as my child. Su Yu interjected, Senior, then you can't advance. Not really, but the law energy I need is too strong. It's best if it's an unconscious, pure and powerful law energy to supplement me. If King Wen hadn't disappeared, perhaps I could have advanced under his nurturing, but he disappeared. No one would have such powerful divine runes to nurture me anymore. From this, it could be seen just how strong King Wen was. He could nurture Doubao and raise it to the level of a human king. Unfortunately, King Wen had disappeared. It was actually very difficult for Doubao to obtain such a high level of nourishment. Even if he relied on himself, it would probably be very difficult for him to perfect his own power of laws and advance to another level. It was also until today that Su Yu finally understood what this race meant. These were pure rules. It was just that they were not powerful enough. It would probably be very easy for this race to advance to the Dao Merge realm. However, after the Dao Merge realm, it would probably be difficult to perfect the complete rules. Little hairy ball could probably advance to the Dao Merge realm as well, but after that, it would be difficult to walk. It needed to constantly perfect its own power of rules. Su Yu sighed with emotion. There were all sorts of strange things in the greater world. Rules could actually turn into living beings. It was a terrifying existence. This race's foundation was too strong. However, it seemed like there were only these three. King Wen was also a person of great talent and great strategy. Back then, he had nurtured the spirituality of the laws, but he actually did not destroy it. Instead, he allowed it to turn into living beings. This was not something that an ordinary person could do. If it was destroyed, King Wen might be able to grasp another law. Doubao was also honest. In other words, he did not mind Su Yu finding out about this. If Su Yu asked, he would say it. If he did not ask, he would probably be too lazy to say these things. Senior, that heaven-overseeing Marquis, I heard that he attained the Tao through luck. Is he the same existence as you? Could it be that he attained the Tao through a set of rules? Him. Do Bao shook his head and said, no, he isn't. Luck. This is considered a kind of natural life form. He relies on absorbing some luck to strengthen himself. Luck is actually a very ethereal thing. It is very difficult for us to see it. We can only rely on feeling it. Who has great luck? And spirit luck could be seen. Heaven overseeing Marquis relied on devouring fate to grow. Therefore, Heaven overseeing Marquis was determined to get the Heaven hunting list. The Heaven hunting list, which King Wen had let him control, also had this purpose. Because once a genius whose aura was collected by the Heaven hunting list died, some fate would fall into the Heaven hunting list. This was also the best way for Heaven overseeing Marquis to strengthen himself. Doubao understood the Heaven overseeing Marquis quite well. He continued, therefore, ever since King Wen went missing, the heaven overseeing Marquis has always wanted to keep this for himself. However, he was afraid that King Wen would return, so he never dared to do so. However, he secretly created some chaos and allowed the geniuses to fight each other. The Heaven Hunting Pavilion has been following this path all these years in order to strengthen himself and also to swallow the Heaven Hunting list. Su Yu suddenly understood. So that was it. The Heaven Hunting Pavilion had been creating chaos. That was the purpose of the Heaven Hunting Pavilion, to create more trouble. They were eager for the geniuses on the Heaven Hunting list to kill each other. It turned out that all of this was done on purpose by the Heaven Overseeing Marquis for the sake of his own strength. The Heaven Hunting Pavilion was the Heaven Overseeing Pavilion in the ancient times. It oversaw the heavens, and later, it became the Heaven Hunting Genius. Luck. Su Yu thought in his heart, and Doubao said, the Heaven Overseeing Marquis is actually very difficult to deal with. He swallowed the luck, and he himself has great luck. It is very difficult to kill such a person. He has been moving outside, but he has not died all this time because he is very strong and lucky. Otherwise, the experts who are active in the heavenly battlefield like him have all died, but he is not dead. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2857, Chapter 2857, Chapter 603 Harry Ball Clan 6. Chapter 2857, Chapter 603 Harry Ball Clan 6. Not every other powerhouse would be active at every tide, and not every tide would remain in the heavenly battlefield. Only Jian Tianho had always been there. But he did not die. You're very lucky. Su Yu muttered, I'm also very lucky. Doubao said casually, so, he definitely wants to hunt you down. Su Yu nodded slightly. Then, is Senior his match? Doubao thought for a moment, he shook his head. Probably not. In the myriad realms, the only one who can beat him now is probably that old turtle. In the myriad realms, the strongest person is probably the old turtle, then perhaps Heaven Overseeing Marquis, and then, probably Tian Gu. Su Yu was stunned for a moment. Wasn't Tian Gu even later than Senior? He's at the end of the ancient era, and his strength doesn't seem to be too strong. Yeah, but he's very talented. Doubao explained, he's very talented. During the ancient era, although he wasn't strong, he was very famous. He sparred with King Wen and Martial King's disciples, and in the end, he won. That's why we know about him. That's right. Doubao and the others all knew about Tian Gu, and Tian Gu didn't even reach the Dao realm at the end of the ancient era. Clearly, he was also a genius. As for the old turtle, he said that he would fight two opponents at once, as expected, the one ranked first, the one ranked second, and the one ranked third, was amazing. Su Yu had previously thought that Tian Gu wasn't too strong. At the very least, he wasn't as strong as Doubao. Only now did he realize that Doubao wasn't as strong as Tian Gu. Then Senior is ranked fourth. Fourth? Doubao shook his head. Don't know. There are some fellows who are also very powerful. For example, that old fated Qin. He's very powerful. In the past, I even looked for his grandfather to read his fortune. His grandfather said that I could eat Tian Gu, but in the end, I didn't eat it. Doubao still felt a little regretful. Tiangua is actually very fragrant too. Clearly, at this level, it was hard to tell who was stronger and who was weaker. If they didn't fight, it would be hard to tell. The cue ball should be a little weaker than Doubao. He didn't know if it could deal with some powerful third-level immortal soul stage cultivators. After asking these questions, Su Yu didn't have anything else to ask. To be able to seduce the cue ball was already very good. Just as he was thinking about how to leave this place, Doubao suddenly said, if you guys want to leave, leave early. I want to sleep, I want to sleep. I like to dream, and I like to eat in my dreams. Su, you smell very good. If I fall asleep, I might eat you. Su was speechless. Fine, there was no need for me to make excuses. Then I'll leave. Su looked at the cue ball. Senior Cookhouse, then why are you leaving with me? My sea of will might not be able to withstand it. The cue ball yawned and disapprovingly disappeared in an instant. At this moment, Su's head sank. In the next moment, a book appeared in his hand. On the page, in the middle of the word civilization, there was a slightly bigger ball. The cue ball had entered civilization. And the little fur ball also disappeared in an instant. In Su's mind, the word calamity also had a ball on it. This family sure knew how to find a place. Doubao did not pay much attention to this as he glanced at Su's Wenmingji. He said lazily, "You want to create a time book too?" A time book is very powerful. King Wen once said that Shi Guan wanted to create the book of 10,000 arts. However, the sins he committed were too grave. Sooner or later, something will happen to Shi Guan. As expected, something has happened. Book of 10,000 Arts. Su's heart skipped a beat. What book of 10,000 arts? Just as he was thinking about it, he felt dizzy and disappeared from where he was. He was thrown out by Big Hairy Ball. After throwing him out, Big Hairy Ball heaved a sigh of relief and muttered, "I can finally have a good sleep." Ever since his wife had returned, she had been clamoring for Heavenly Ancient every single day. He was getting tired of being yelled at. She had finally left. Su was truly a good person. Big Hairy Ball was secretly grateful. She took his daughter-in-law away, and she also took away the little guy who caused trouble every day. I'm not going to pick her up. Pick her up? How could she sleep if she picked her up? It was okay to play when she was bored, but it was too annoying to carry her around all the time. Big Hairy Ball happily sent the two hairy balls away and began to sleep soundly. She could finally have a good dream. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2858, Chapter 2858, Chapter 604, Inviting All Directions L. Chapter 2858, Chapter 604, Inviting All Directions L. Space Fluctuation. Su appeared in the depths of the sea. The Big Hairy Ball had actually teleported him out. This rule control power is too strong. Su's heart was slightly shaken. Teleporting out of the boundary was not something an ordinary person could do. Of course, the Big Hairy Ball was already powerful. Outside the ancient god-devouring realm, there was actually a passage that went straight to the human realm. However, it had been opened once before. Now, the human realm should have some forces guarding this place. Moreover, without the Big Hairy Ball, it was actually difficult to open this passage. Last time, Su had borrowed the power of the little hairy ball to open this passage. Su did not take this path. There was no need. This time, the human race had officially invited him to go back and take A. There was no point in sneaking back. Now one feel much more at ease. Su was indeed much more at ease. Although the cue ball gave people the feeling that it was not reliable, it was still at the immortal soul third level. Su raised his head to look at the ancient world of the devouring god that had disappeared. He was still thinking about what he had just learned. Big Hairy Ball's words had allowed him to learn a lot of things. King Wen and Master Shi Guang were not the same person. The Heaven Hunting Board and the Time Book were not one and the same. If he had gotten a record fragment, why could he see the heaven overseeing marquee? But Wan Tianxing could not, even if he had gotten the tombstone. Is it because of the golden book in his head? He can also use it as a father on the heaven hunting list. The little furball feels that it's fragrant and doesn't want to eat it. Could it be that this thing isn't as good as the golden book? Does that mean that this fragment is real? At this moment, Suyu suddenly found it difficult to determine if it was real or fake. If it was real, then the reason why I saw the heaven overseeing marquee was really due to luck. Speaking of the heaven overseeing marquee, Suyu recalled something. The last time, the heaven overseeing marquee said that he would convene the elders for a meeting in 10 days, it seemed like it was almost time. Suyu's heart moved slightly. He quickly dived into the depths of the sea and found a place with no one. He took out the record fragment and quickly invaded his willpower. It seemed like it was time today. Was the heaven overseeing marquee having a meeting? In the heaven hunting pavilion's main hall. The heaven hunting pavilion's elders were those above the 7th level of the Sun-Moon realm. Those at the 7th level of the Sun-Moon realm were all top-notch experts who had hopes of attaining the Tao at any time. At this moment, in the huge main hall, there were more than 40 faceless elders gathered in a scattered manner. There were quite a number of them. Each of them was invincible, and they almost controlled 10 elders. According to the number of invincible elders, there were 90 heaven hunting pavilion's elders. However, many of them had died last time. After a few disturbances, there were only these people left. Not only that, there were also a few elders who had yet to return. For example, Suyu, who had taken up the black armor slot, and the yellow armor slot were empty. In the main hall, the South Tower Master was sitting at the side. Opposite him were a few quasi-invincible law enforcement elders. At the front, the only one who did not wear a mask was a scholar. Marquis Jian Tian was reading a book, as if he was waiting silently. Waiting for the gathering of the elders. After an unknown amount of time, the scholar slowly raised his head and said softly, "Is everyone here?" The South Tower Master stood up, he bowed and said, reporting to Pavilion Master, there should be 64 elders, 48 elders, and 16 elders. There is no way to contact them, no way to notify them, and no one replied to the group's message. I don't know if it's because of their special status, or they have betrayed us. There was a group of people who didn't come. For example, Suyu wouldn't come even if he received the message. Moreover, Suyu had left the black-armored mask in the ancient city. He didn't even look at it, so he couldn't even receive the message. 48. The scholar muttered. Very quickly, he looked at the 48 people in front of him, he said softly, "You are all the most elite experts of the Heaven Hunting Pavilion. Recently, the Heaven Hunting Pavilion has been in turmoil. Many human experts are unwilling to be with me. I don't blame them. I have gathered everyone here today to say that since you are unwilling, please leave. There should still be humans present." Heavenly Marquis Jian smiled lightly and said, "The other 16 elders who did not come, will no longer be Heaven Hunting Pavilion elders. Those who have come are from the human race. Leave now, and I won't pursue the past. Otherwise, you won't be able to hide it from me. If you don't leave now, it will be too late." The Marquis of Heaven Overseeing looked at everyone, and these elders were also a little restless. The faceless elder said in a low voice, "Pavilion Master, the purpose of the Heaven Hunting Pavilion is not to chase after the past, but to look only at the future. Could it be that Pavilion Master wants to investigate our identities one by one? Those who spoke might not be humans." However, the system of the Heaven Hunting Pavilion determined that this force was a mix of fish and dragons. Once everyone's identity was revealed, the 10,000 worlds would probably be shocked. Perhaps, many of the great bandits that the 10,000 worlds were chasing were among them. The scholar smiled and said, "That won't happen, but, whether or not they are human, I have my own way of distinguishing them. Don't worry, I will only investigate the human race. There is no need to worry about anything else." The person who spoke did not say anything else. Heavenly Marquis Jian glanced at everyone and sighed, "Aren't you going to repent? Some people feel that staying here might be of great use. You guys overestimate yourselves. After saying this, Heavenly Marquis Jian waved his hand and invisible auras circled around everyone. These auras seemed to be alive. They quickly roamed around and stopped in front of the four faceless elders. At this moment, the bodies of the four elders trembled slightly. The scholar said lightly, "Sigh, I've said it before. It's very easy for me to tell if it's a human or not. It's not too difficult. Why bother?" After saying this, the South Tower Master disappeared without him needing to make a move. In the blink of an eye, the four elders rose up, but they were quickly suppressed by him. It was not easy for an Eternal 7 Dan expert to deal with these sun and moon. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2859, Chapter 2859, Chapter 604, Inviting All Parties to. Chapter 2859, Chapter 604, Inviting All Parties to. The rest of you can go back now. After this, you can apply for some resources and treat it as a round-trip fee. The scholar smiled and said, "Everyone, don't worry. In the Heaven Hunting Pavilion, you will have everything you want. Although there is a small problem now, everything will soon calm down. As you command." The group of elders did not say much and quickly left. They joined the Heaven Hunting Pavilion because the other party was powerful. As long as the scholar was alive, this ancient marquis would be a peerless expert. As for the death of the other unrivaled experts, it would not affect anything. Unless the scholar died one day, the Heaven Hunting Pavilion would still be a towering giant tree. The scholar glanced at the few faceless elders and chuckled, "Why bother? If you really did not come, I would not have bothered to deal with you. Why should I throw myself into the net?" The captured elder. Someone hurriedly said, "Pavilion Master, although I'm a human, I don't think of myself as a human anymore. I'm loyal to the Heaven Hunting Pavilion, Pavilion Master, and not the human race." Pavilion Master was clear about this. "I came here this time to prove my loyalty and that I don't have any ill intentions." Pavilion Master, "Me too." Pavilion Master, "I'm also loyal to Pavilion Master." The few of them spoke one after another, and no one knew if it was true or not. It could be that they were thinking the truth, or it could just be that they had been discovered, and they had come up with an idea at the last minute to fool him. In the depths of the ocean. This was what Suyu saw. He frowned slightly and didn't make a sound as he continued to watch. His willpower was also continuously being depleted. Very soon, Suyu's willpower was exhausted, and he exited the fragment. These humans, are they really loyal to the Heaven Hunting Pavilion, or are they just pretending? Suyu muttered, "Forget it, I don't care about this." He played with the fragment and fell into deep thought. He was also recovering his willpower. After a while, Suyu thought for a while and entered his willpower again. He wanted to see the result. When he entered again, the scene changed. At this moment, in another hall. The South Tower Master said softly, "Pavilion Master, aren't those people going to be killed? They might not be telling the truth. These people all control a large amount of intelligence resources, or they might even be the people in charge of the business path. They often carry out large-scale transactions with the human race." The Heaven Overseeing Marquis laughed lightly and said, "No rush. Regardless of whether it's true or not, don't kill them first. The West Tower has sent a message, do you know? One heard that Suyu is willing to use the record fragment to exchange for the lives of these people." Speaking up to this point, the South Tower Lord hesitated for a moment and said, "Pavilion Lord, this Heaven Hunting list, how many fragments has it broken into?" The scholar faintly laughed. He slowly said, "There are actually not many large fragments. The two words record count as the two largest fragments. In addition, there is actually a rather important fragment that has been taken away by someone. These three fragments, combined with the current Heaven Hunting list, can be considered a complete Heaven Hunting list." The South Tower Lord said in a deep voice, sir, of these 3 fragments, one is in the Heavenly Abyss clan, one is in Su Yu's hands, and that last one. The scholar smiled and said, "What, you want to take it for me? This subordinate will do my best." The scholar lightly smiled and shook his head, "Forget it, you are not that person's match. Even I can't easily take it. These fragments, in these people's hands, I have never been able to take it back. There is naturally a reason. Sir, those 3 fragments are outside. Will your side be affected? It's fine. If the 3 fragments don't fuse together, it won't have much of an effect on me." The scholar smiled and said, "It's also very difficult to fuse together. Even if they fuse together, they won't fuse together. As long as they don't fuse together, it won't have much of an effect on me. Don't worry. Think of a way to retrieve the fragment in Su Yu's hands. Then the remaining 2 will not have much of an effect on me." "Pavilion Master, do you mean to use these people to exchange for Su Yu's pieces? Let's see." The scholar chuckled, "Su Yu might not agree. Then I'll inform the public that the traitor has been captured." In the depths of the sea, Su Yu withdrew from the pieces again. 3 in 1. There was still 1 piece. When the 3 pieces merged into 1, it would have some effect on heaven overseeing Marui's refining the heaven hunting. Then where was the last piece? 1 is with me, and 1 is with Half-Emperor Tian Yuan. Where is the last piece? Su Yu fell into deep thought. Forget it, it was hard to judge. Heavenly Marquis Jian might know, but from what he said, it seemed like even if he knew, it would be a little difficult to seize it. Could it be that it was in the hands of an immortal soul 3rd-level master? If that was the case, it would indeed be difficult to deal with. L did hear some secrets. Some useless secrets. Su Yu thought to himself. As for exchanging the fragments for those people, to hell with exchanging them. He wasn't going to exchange them. He was going to drag it out until the end. With heaven overseeing Marquis hanging on, he probably wouldn't kill those people so easily. Perhaps he could even exchange for the fragments. Perhaps, he's deliberately putting on an act for me to see that I don't want to exchange for them. This thought arose in Su Yu's heart. He faintly felt that something was wrong and quickly suppressed it. Putting on an act for me to see, there's not much meaning, right? Su Yu exhaled. Forget it, forget it. Let's see. Now that the cue ball was on him, Su Yu was not afraid of heaven overseeing Marquis doing any small tricks. Su Yu sneaked all the way and left the bottom of the sea. Not long after, the huge ancient city of Xinghong whistled past. Xinghong sensed Su Yu's location and quickly rushed over. Su Yu also entered the city in an instant. The huge ancient city once again began to wander around the heavenly battlefield. This made some of the people who were watching speechless. Were they too bored? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2860, Chapter 2860, Chapter 604 Inviting All Parties 3. Chapter 2860, Chapter 604 Inviting All Parties 3. Too free. Or did Su Yu want to do something? Soon, a huge ancient city appeared near the entrance of the demon world. A few invincible figures instantly appeared near the demon world and were extremely vigilant. Su Yu's figure appeared and laughed, "Is Madwa Na here? In a few days, my father's birthday will be held. I will invite Madwa Na to participate in my father's birthday banquet. This is the invitation, please pass it to Madwa Na." As he finished speaking, a golden invitation card was shot out by Su Yu. An invincible person quickly received it in his hand. With some vigilance, he opened it and took a look. It was really just an invitation card, inviting Madwa Na to participate in Su Yu's father's 50th banquet. 50th banquet. Yes. This invincible person took a look and his eyelids twitched. He said in a muffled voice, "L will pass it on." City Lord Su is here for this matter. Su Yu laughed and said, of course. Also, tell Madhwa Na that my father's birthday is coming. If he comes empty-handed, he doesn't need to come. He still needs a gift. With that, the ancient city disappeared. The huge ancient city shuttled through the void. After a while, at the entrance of the deity world, a few unrivaled experts had already appeared outside. Su Yu did not say much. He threw out an invitation card, invite Zhan Wushuang to participate in my father's birthday banquet. Zhan Wushuang is still alive, right? After saying that, Su Yu laughed and said, the other celestials have lived a lot, right? This is all thanks to me, Su Yu. You all have to thank me. Outside the deity world, an invincible expert. He said in a deep voice, if City Lord Su invites us, Wushuang will naturally go. It's just that. Wushuang's sea of consciousness has been damaged, and so has the others. City Lord Su, I wonder if you can be magnanimous and help us settle this? Su Yu chuckled and said, during the last battle, one told you not to interfere, but you didn't listen. His sea of consciousness is only injured, it's just a small problem. This time, Zhan Wushuang is here, and I will help him recover. It's just a simple divine writing technique. Your clan's experts can easily invade his sea of consciousness. Nonsense. Zhan Wushuang was not willing. If he was willing, he could naturally solve this problem. Then, I'll have to trouble you, City Lord Su. That invincible did not say much. Zhan Wushuang's sea of consciousness had been damaged. If he wanted to go to the human realm, then so be it. Even if he did not go, he would be crippled. If he went, he might still have a chance of survival. Meanwhile, Su Yu continued to wander around. Dragon World. A few invincible looked at Su Yu with extreme anger. Su Yu laughed and said, one invited brother Long Wuyo to my father's birthday banquet. At least we had some dealings before. Su Yu ran around. Soon, the Five Elements world also received Su Yu's invitation. Not only the Five Elements world, but all the people on the heaven roll were also invited by Su Yu. For example, he was also inviting those from the underworld. There was also that stone statue of the Rockman tribe. Including the immortal world, Su Yu had thrown away an invitation. Just a few of them came, almost all the geniuses from the immortal world had been killed. What is he going to do? At this moment, many experts were guessing what Su Yu was going to do. What was he going to do now? His father was 50 years old. What kind of grand banquet was he going to hold to invite all the geniuses from the heavens? Did this guy really think that he was the ruler of the heavens? Eastern Warzone. Eastern Rift Valley. The great Qin King said in a deep voice, isn't the commotion too big? The great Zhou King said softly, it's good that it's big. It's good that everyone is keeping an eye on him. The commotion isn't big, but it's not very attractive. The bigger, the better. Su Yu really went to invite him, what was he thinking? The great Qin King was surprised. He had thought that Su Yu might not invite him, but in the end, he really went. The great Zhou King smiled and said, what was he thinking? He definitely doesn't know what we were thinking, but, he definitely has his own motives. Let him do what he wants as long as he doesn't disturb us. Then don't tell him. The great Qin King said solemnly, if anything goes wrong, there will be trouble. The great Zhou King thought for a moment and said, wait until we are teleported away, then tell him. That's fine. The great Qin King said, how long can your fake divine runes last? Not long. It can only last for 10 minutes or so. Very soon, the energy will be used up and extinguished. 10 minutes or so. The great Qin King thought for a moment and nodded, that's about it. If it's not enough, this long period of time is enough for us to do a lot of things. After saying that, he said in a low voice, don't leak the news. Don't let anyone else leak it. It's only between us. I know. The Great Zhou King nodded slightly and looked at the Great Qin King. After a long while, he said, "Who do you think it is?" The Great Qin King fell silent. The Great Zhou King said again, although the heavenly ancient had the intention to sow discord at that time, "But, did you really not suspect it?" The Great Qin King said solemnly, "So what if I suspect it? We have to find him." The Great Zhou King said calmly, "We can't guard against him every time." This person's goal was very simple. It was the polytheistic culture. His only goal was the polytheistic culture. If nothing went wrong, it might be related to King Wen. Otherwise, I can't guess why he would keep targeting the polytheistic culture. The Great Qin King looked at him and said, "You don't know? You should have a few guesses, and this person is even your supporter. Otherwise, the Great Zhou Manor wouldn't have become the vanguard of targeting the polytheistic culture so easily all these years. Even if he wasn't the Great Zhou King, there was a high probability that he was one of the invincible supporters of the Great Zhou King." The Great Zhou King said in a low voice, "There are guesses and a few targets, but we can't easily investigate and tell others. We can't admit that there's a second person. Even if we do find him, we'll deal with him in secret. It would be best if we can let the other party die in battle in this operation and still leave behind the name of a hero. However, we cannot say it out loud." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2861, Chapter 2861, Chapter 604, Inviting the World 4. Chapter 2861, Chapter 604, Inviting the World 4. Let the other party die in silence. Even if it was a glorious death, it was best not to make it known to everyone. If there was one, then there was a second. Everyone would naturally believe that there was a third. The Great Qin King nodded. The Great Zhou King hesitated for a moment before saying in a low voice, "If it doesn't work, my suspected targets will all die in battle over there this time." The Great Qin King was slightly startled and looked at him. "You, old Zhou." The Great Zhou King quickly regained his smile. "You can't bear to part with them." "No, but some people are innocent and died together with the traitors. I'm not too happy about it." The Great Qin King said in a low voice, "It's okay to have a few people die in battle, but they were stabbed in the back by their own people and killed. I'm not happy about it. Once word gets out, no one will be happy about it. Old Zhou, either you're not sure who the other party is, or you can just leave them be. One know that your suggestion might be a good choice, but PM still not willing. After all, we have our robes." The Great Zhou King sighed and did not say anything else. Perhaps this was the charm of the Great Qin King. Even though his suggestion was actually quite good, since they were going to die in battle, it was better to let those suspected targets die in battle and end everything once and for all. 1/ was the fastest way. However, the Great Qin King did not want the hero and the traitor to die together, nor did he want the hero to bear the infamy of being a traitor and die just like that. The Great Zhou King was also thinking about how to lure that fellow out and expose something. If Su Yu came this time, would it cause some changes to the other party? Su Yu was currently the strongest expert in the many divine languages department. He was even stronger than the 10,000 heavenly saints department. His talent was frighteningly powerful, and he had a huge backer behind him. The Great Qin King even bluntly said that he wanted Su Yu to return to the human race and inherit the position of the Great Qin King's current leader. If that was the case, the other party might do something to Su Yu's return this time. Many thoughts arose in the Great Zhou King's mind, and he quickly said, "Let's wait for Su Yu to come first. Since he sent out so many invitations, he'll probably come. Since he's here, let's discuss this matter with him." Perhaps they still needed Su Yu's cooperation in order to find that fellow. If they found him, they didn't need to alert the enemy. Once they reached the heavenly abyss world, they just needed to let that fellow die in battle. This was the best way to deal with this matter without anyone noticing. Otherwise, if this matter blew up, it would create another huge storm. The great Qin king nodded. This matter might indeed require Su Yu's cooperation. The great Qin king thought for a moment and said, "Let the 36 prefectures go and congratulate him. Gather everyone together. Don't let any trouble arise on the human side. We can also suppress it at any time." The great Zhou king smiled and said, "With what you've done, I'm afraid many people will curse you in their hearts." With that, the great Zhou king smiled and said, "I'll go find someone. Don't worry, it'll be done." After saying this, he hesitated for a moment and said, "He rejected Xia Dao probably because he doesn't want to accept." "That's normal." The great Qin king nodded, "It's a very normal decision. What I want is not for him to accept it now, but for him to have this kind of preparation and mentality, so that the various human experts will also have this kind of mentality. If he comes back at a critical moment, everyone will have the same idea." Su Yu, back then, the great Qin king had mentioned that he would be in charge of the human realm. This way, it won't be too sudden, and there won't be much trouble. It didn't matter if he accepted it now or not. The key was in the future. He couldn't suddenly appear out of nowhere, and that person would be the crown prince. If that was the case, no one would be willing to accept it. It would be very troublesome. Right now, they were only creating momentum. They only wanted Su Yu and the other human realm experts to be mentally prepared. They would see in a few years. Oh, so it wasn't strange for Su Yu to return as the human king. Back then, there had been an invincible group that supported Su Yu. This was what the great Qin king was thinking. As for now, on one hand, it was because Su Yu wasn't strong enough. On the other hand, the great Qin king and the others were still around, and the human realm experts hadn't met with a disaster yet. At this juncture, forcefully pushing Su Yu up was meaningless. If he harmed Su Yu, it would easily create a barrier between the human realm and the human realm. However, he had to create a barrier. When the great Zhou king heard this, he immediately laughed. "I'll say, you rascal, old Qin, you've learned to play tricks now." The great Qin king said calmly, "Tricks? What tricks? This is an overt scheme. I am just an aboveboard. I want him to be prepared. It doesn't matter if he isn't willing now. Sooner or later, he will be willing. The others are the same. It doesn't matter if they don't agree now. Sooner or later, they will agree. Now, plant some seedlings. Sooner or later, they will grow." The great Zhou king laughed, "Fine, it's best that you have such thoughts. I thought you were really going to give up. Not so fast." As the great Qin king spoke, he thought for a moment and said in a low voice, "But it won't be too long." The great Zhou king's heart moved slightly. He looked at him and did not ask any more questions, but countless thoughts arose in his heart. Human realm. Great Xia Manor. In the past few days, the Great Xia Manor had been bustling with noise and excitement. The news of Su Long's birthday had spread throughout the heavens. The overlord of the ancient city, Su Yu, had invited all the geniuses of the heavens to come to the human realm to celebrate Su Long's birthday. 50th birthday. And this time, Su Yu would return. Su Yu, the people of the Great Xia Manor, almost everyone knew about him. Back then, when Su Yu had escaped from the Great Xia Manor and entered the Great Ming Manor, it had caused a commotion. Countless citizens of the Great Xia Manor were incomparably furious and attacked the Great Xia Manor. In the end, Marquis Xia was furious and killed a few mountains and seas. It was the end of this matter. That killing was also the end of the Battle of Shanduo. From then on, the Battle of Shanduo was no longer mentioned. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2862, Chapter 2862, Chapter 604 invites the Four Directions 5. Chapter 2862, Chapter 604 invites the Four Directions 5. After that, Su Yu returned as Xianjiao and killed countless powerful enemies. In the southern Yuan, he fought fiercely against the geniuses of the heavens and killed all directions. In the end, he also became famous and resounded throughout the human realm. However, Su Yu turned into a half-dead spirit and joined the ancient city's forces, causing many people to criticize him. However, news soon spread that Su Yu was surrounded and killed in the heavenly battlefield and had to turn into a half-dead spirit. This made people sigh endlessly. He was originally a peerless genius of the human race, but because he was surrounded and killed, he was unable to resist. He had no choice but to turn into a resident of the ancient city. What a pity! As for Su Yu, he quickly told the heavens that it wasn't a pity. In the previous battle, Su Yu used his unparalleled strength and power to kill dozens of unrivaled experts. He killed so many that the heavens shook. The gods, devils, immortal dragons, and other races were all shocked. He was truly the one who suppressed the heavens. Now, Su Yu's father was celebrating his birthday. This terrifying expert who killed in the heavenly battlefield had to return to the Great Xia Manor this time. For a moment, the Great Xia Mansion was in turmoil. Some were excited, and some were nervous. Of course, most of them were curious. Just how strong was Su Yu? It was said that he killed countless people. Did he kill more people than the master of the Xia Mansion? They all knew that Xia Longwu was known as the Blood Butcher King. Did Su Yu kill more experts than Xia Longwu? For many people, the realm after the sun and moon was something they could not fathom. The Great Xia Mansion. The Su Mansion. Yes, the Su family had a mansion here. It was a gift from the Xia family. At this moment, in the Su family, Su Long had a helpless look on his face. He looked at the smiling Lord Xia and said softly, "Lord Xia, one don't celebrate my birthday. Moreover, my birthday is not that day." Lord Xia Ho smiled and said, "How can that be? Your birthday is that day." "It really isn't." "It really is." Su Long was powerless and said, "Lord Xia, this is too big of a commotion. At most, I can just call Su Yu back and secretly gather together." "That won't do." Lord Xia Ho smiled and said, "Su Long, you have to know that Su Yu is no longer an ordinary person. He is the lord of the ancient city, the overlord of the 36 cities. Behind him, there are dozens of unrivaled and even half-emperors. If he returns, will he be able to steal it back? Wealth and honor do not return home, it is like walking at night in brocade clothes. Since he is rich and noble, then he should make a big fuss and come back openly, don't you think so?" Su Long had a conflicted expression. On one hand, this arrangement, the ancestor of the Su family had appeared. It was simply unimaginable. But on the other hand, Su Long still said hesitantly, "Then will he be assassinated when he returns? One know that all the clans want to kill him now. They won't, and they won't dare to." Lord Xiaoho smiled and said, "My father and the Darming King will protect him personally. He himself is also extremely powerful, so there won't be much of a problem." "But..." "No buts." Lord Xiaoho smiled and said, "The birthday banquet, do you decide to hold it here or go to the Southern Yuan office? The Southern Yuan office is still under reconstruction. If it's in the Southern Yuan office, I'll speed up the construction there as soon as possible and complete it immediately." Su Long said awkwardly, that, if you really have to hold it, you should go to the Southern Yuan office. I'm not familiar with this place and don't know many people here. There are still many acquaintances and friends over at the Southern Yuan office. Lord Xiaoho nodded with a smile. It's no big deal. Apart from the friends of the Southern Yuan, do you want to invite your friends in the army? Is it appropriate? Of course it's appropriate. The Great Xia Mansion, including the Demon Suppression Army, has retreated from the front line and is camping at the rear. They are all idle. Then, can my old brothers come? Qianlong and the others? Yes. They can. Su Long was overjoyed and quickly said, yes, they're A_re also my brothers who joined the army later. Especially that old Lu, Centurion Lu. Even if others don't come, he has to come. Lord Xiahou did not recognize him and asked curiously, are you a good friend? Su Long bared his teeth. Yes, a good friend. We almost became in-laws good friends. Lord Xiahou was slightly startled. There was such a thing. Su Long did not say much and cursed in his heart. That old Lu, in the past, his father would not believe anything he said. Back then, he had said that he would introduce his daughter to Su Yu, but in the end, old Lu had even started to tremble and become extremely arrogant. Now, you should continue to tremble. Lord Xiahou was too lazy to ask further and smiled. Then, is there anything else? Su Long, feel free to ask for anything. Su Long thought for a moment before saying, there's one more thing. Can I rebuild the house in my hometown? I still want to live in a familiar place. Of course there's no problem. This was a small matter. However, there was an ancient ruin over there that had not closed up yet. They still had to think of a way to move it away. Master Xiahou thought in his heart and suddenly said, Su Long, Su Yu's talent is so strong. On your side. I also checked. Your talent seems to be. Su Long said awkwardly, my talent is not good, but my son is intelligent and has extraordinary talent. Then do you know why? Lord Xiahou smiled and said, is it related to his mother? Su Long shook his head. His mother is just an ordinary person. It has nothing to do with his mother. Lord Xiahou looked at him. Was he so sure? Su Long did not say much. He smiled foolishly and said, Lord Xiahou, Su Yu's mother and one are both ordinary people. My son's talent is strong, and he worked hard to cultivate. It has nothing to do with us. Please don't think too much about it. Alright, I won't ask any more. Master Xiahou smiled and did not ask any more. He only reminded him. Then you have to be careful. You have to be careful of any hair that falls off. Including blood and the like. Be careful that it is not taken away and used by others. Su Long nodded. He still understood this. Master Ho, don't worry. I will be careful. After Master Xiahou left, scenes flashed through Su Long's mind. He quickly shook his head and did not think about it. He knew that many times, the strong could detect the thoughts of the weak. He did not think about it. He would think about it when his son came back. It was good that Su Yu came back. If he did not come back, he would also want to look for him. Come back soon. I, your father, can be considered to have lived a glorious. Su Long sighed. The old Su family had really lived a glorious life. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2863, Chapter 2863, Chapter 605 Return to the Human Realm. Chapter 2863, Chapter 605 Return to the Human Realm. L. In the ancient city. Su Yu sent the invitation, but the ancient city didn't move anymore. It stood quietly on the sea of stars. At this moment, Su Yu didn't think about anything else. Instead, he was strengthening his own strength. Strengthening the divine runes. The power of laws he absorbed last time was all in the will of civilization. These days, he had been strengthening the divine runes. Su Yu wanted to strengthen all of his divine runes to the Sun-Moon realm. Law energy. The last time he killed the Wisdom King, the reward was almost all law energy. At this moment, Suyu was thinking of a problem. The reward law energy, is it because the Wisdom King died and the part of law energy that he had fused was ownerless, so the reward was given to me? Previously, when killing geniuses, there wasn't any law energy reward. Only when killing invincibility, the reward seemed to be law energy. Previously, when Suyu killed a genius and killed the sun and moon, there was no reward for the power of laws. But when he killed invincible, there was a reward for the power of laws. So, Suyu was thinking, where did this power of laws come from? If it was a reward from an ancient powerhouse, wasn't the ancient powerhouse too generous? Or was it that the ancient rules only rewarded him with a part of the power, and the rest was taken by them, or they simply maintained the operation of the rules? Stolen. Suyu was stunned for a moment. The heavenly battlefield. At this moment, a vague thought appeared. Stolen. After killing Invincible, some of the power of the rules fused with Invincible would spread and be absorbed by heaven and earth. Did that mean that someone was actually in control of heaven and earth, and someone had stolen a portion of the power of the rules? Then, the rest would be rewarded to the killer, and the killer would continue to kill? Suyu quickly suppressed this thought. This wasn't a good idea, however, the punishment of the rules, the ancient parliament. Those guys in the ancient parliament wouldn't intentionally set up a punishment, right, just to kill those guys who violated their rules. And then obtain the power of the rules. The ancient era, it's getting more and more interesting. Suyu smiled, it was getting more and more interesting. He didn't think about it anymore. Instead, he tried to let different divine texts absorb some of the power of laws. The Wisdom King was the king of the immortals. Suyu was wondering if there were any divine texts that would be more in line with the characteristics of the immortals. Then, would they be able to absorb the power of laws more smoothly? After experimenting for a bit, they were all about the same. However, Suyu also had some understanding. The power of laws, those natural divine texts absorbed faster. As for the innate divine texts, the rate of absorption was slightly slower. The innate divine texts might contain more complete laws within. Not only were the divine texts improving, Suyu's level as a civilized master was also improving rapidly. His god apertures were all merging naturally. With 40 apertures merging into one, Suyu had entered the mountain and sea realm in the Starry Palace. Now, it was also very natural. After these few days of tempering, the level of a civilized master was more like Qin Yong back then. After entering the mountain and sea realm, he quickly entered the peak of the mountain and sea realm. The current Suyu had already entered the 7th level of the mountain and sea realm. The 280 god apertures had all formed one, forming 7 god apertures. The rest were almost done. If this went on, his level of a civilized master would soon enter the peak of the mountain and sea realm. As for his physical body, it would be done soon. Suyu felt that his tempering at the 9th level of the Lingyun realm had probably reached its limit. It would be fine as long as he had the mountain and sea integration aperture. All of this was just a matter of time. The crux of the matter wasn't this, but the Heaven's Gate. At this moment, Suyu was thinking about how the Heaven's Gate connected the divine aperture and the origin aperture. This was his definition of the origin divine aperture. Suyu had been thinking about how to combine the divine aperture and the origin aperture into one and cultivate together. In this way, he didn't need the willpower from the secret realm in his sea of consciousness to complete the increase in willpower. Divine aperture, Yuan aperture. Old Zhou has opened them. He should know whether these two need to be connected or not. After that, it might be a new cultivation system, which is the method of the heavenly cycle that I mentioned. However, Suyu didn't dare to open the heaven gate recklessly. It was easy to get into trouble. Suyu dared to open the heaven gate, suck in the dead gas, and increase his battle strength. However, opening the heaven gate and penetrating the Yuan Shen 2 apertures, Suyu didn't dare to do it. It was easy to kill himself. Old Zhou. Suyu thought of the starry mansion. He really wanted to talk to old Zhou. Unfortunately, this person was a madman. He only had resentment. Otherwise, he really wanted to ask if old Zhou had cultivated primordial spirit unity together. Primordial spirit unity. It's a pity that I don't have any cultivation techniques or experience. Suyu had mostly absorbed the power of laws. Divine runes. Suyu's main focus was on the divine runes Wear and Slow. These two types of laws were mainly used to deal with invincibility. These two types of laws were similar to the power of space-time. This time, killing the Wisdom King had a lot of power of laws. This time, Suyu had upgraded, and many of the divine runes had advanced to the Sun-Moon realm. Blood, civilization, tribulation, tranquility, wear, slow, change, and death, these 10 divine runes, Suyu had upgraded to the Sun-Moon realm. The other divine runes were almost all at the peak of the mountain and sea realm. Perhaps they did not need to absorb anything, they would naturally transform very quickly. The death-type divine text was mainly used by Suyu to absorb the aura of death. Now that his heaven gate wasn't open, he could also use the death-type divine text to absorb the aura of death provided by the stars and the moon, in case there was too much aura of death and he still needed to reverse it. The other divine texts that had been upgraded to Sun and Moon were all useful to Suyu. Suyu actually wanted to upgrade the Flame of Inheritance, but the power of rules wasn't enough, so he could only wait for the next opportunity.